full.
We have Shenron, which is green, right? So the thing about Shenron that we all want to remember, and I love to point this out, when you study Shenron, it's supposed to be Shenlong. You just have that colloquial change in the pronunciation of the L to the R going from Japanese to English. And so Dragon Ball Z established, and Dragon Ball established that as well, it's because this one isn't that same god, but it is a direct reference to the same dragon concept in China.
Okay.
And so when you go into, well, who is Shenlong? Shenlong also has a Japanese name called Netaku. So he exists in both mythologies of both peoples. The idea behind Shenlong Netaku was he was a great warrior, a human being who became so powerful, so great that the gods said, okay, we will ascend you if you want to ascend, but you'll have to change your form because a human being can't live amongst the stars with the gods in heaven. They have to have a new form to do it.
Okay.
And so he said, all right, I'll do it. I'll change my form. And they turned him into the dragon Shenlong, the great green dragon Shenlong.
Yeah.
And the concept behind that is a man can become a god. A man can achieve the thing that we're not supposed to be able to achieve. And then when they get to that point when they're about to achieve it, whether they realize it or not, the gods can give them the opportunity. The cosmos can give you the opportunity to take that last step upward. But it requires you to give up something permanently, which was his human form. He had to permanently become a dragon.
Gotcha. True.
And so, and to join the celestial gods, you also gain a purpose. You have a task you have to perform. So they gave Netaku Shenlong the task of traversing from celestial heaven to earth itself, to the mortals, to the animals, and to the living creatures, to see among them who is heroic and worthy of the same blessing he got to rise them up to.
Rise up. Okay. Gotcha.
That's where you get the concept of, well, now there's immortals that start walking around the Chinese and Japanese mythology. That's who's choosing them.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That's very interesting.
And so that's him as the green dragon. We've established now that there's a blue one and red one.
Yeah.
The red one is easy. That one, blue. They're both technically tied to the same concept. It's the red and blue force, red and blue serpent. That goes back to almost every mythology. Goes into the idea of masculine, feminine, male, female, chaos, order. Not in terms of exactly of good and evil, but in terms of you have nature's order and then man's order, and they can coincide. They used to coincide. They used to spiral together beautifully, and when they do, they create a greater serpent, a flaming god serpent.
Gotcha.
And that one is usually depicted as gold, and that's where we get the future one from the other series. So red and blue is masculine, feminine, chaos, order. We see the red dragon show up, like you mentioned, with the Black Star Dragon Balls. And with the GT arc, and it was a chaos dragon. Everything was going to destroy and blow up if they didn't meet its requirements, and it was also on a countdown timer.
Yes, yeah.
And then when they went after the Dragon Balls and finally got the Black Stars, they all had their own versions of dragons they had to fight on top of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which is a concept of guardian beasts and guardian angels or demons.
Yeah. Well, and the concept of like a force, like an energy, like chaos that has always existed in the universe. Has parts of it, has parts that break down. Similar to like love has always existed, and that can be represented by like the Kundalini or Kuichi, but they have aspects of them that make up that whole energy being. Because it's never been, it's always been in existence. Yeah, it's the 7 dragons for each ball, the aspects of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
exactly. So then you go over to the blue dragon, which you see a lot less. But if you ever pull up just the opening credits to the first 2 shows, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you'll see the Dragon Ball Z credit roll, and there's always a blue or red dragon right there, all toony, waving and chewing everything.
Yeah. It's usually the blue one with like the yellow.
Yeah. And so
Perfect.
the idea of the blue dragon is that's more of that wisdom, the knowledge. It's more of the innate intuitive knowledge. And so then we get into Goku wears blue in Dragon Ball because he's an innocent child. He has intuitive knowledge. He has intuitive training, but there's no real experience behind any of that.
Yeah.
He's literally level 1.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which, I mean, this ties in a little bit like with the chakras. It's like, so like, the throat chakra is usually represented as blue. And then based on who you talk to, or like which representative you look at, like the third eye is represented as like indigo.
Mm-hmm.
And so indigo is, and like some people will say purple or something like that, but like the colors never really actually like were part of the original chakra system. That is like a little bit of a new age adoption, but also interesting enough that once we started giving them colors, people now see those colors when they go into meditation. So it's like because we created that permission slip belief in reality, that's now a part of the system it works. You now do like a root chakra meditation and you'll begin to see red. Like because we've adopted that into the collective consciousness. We as a collective created that.
So we
Just wanna,
updated the program.
Yeah, we updated the program. So like the color system, like so like indigo usually being like the third eye chakra, is also it's a bluish purple. But people say that like because each chakra has its own chakra system, that like when you actually fully harmonize your throat chakra in the traditional like route, if you haven't done any third eye work and you're not harmonizing the third eye, you are fully creative, childlike, and you have that intuition that animals have and that fighters have and that little kids have. Like that you see a little bit, where it's like, like the deer suddenly knows when it's being watched, and it knows if the person watching it has a camera or a gun, and it begins to behave differently immediately. You see this with Goku, like the way his intuition kicks in and like dodges stuff, right before it almost happens, blindly, and so like that same thing is like when your creative energy, the blue energy is full, your creative throat chakra is full, and you're in your expression, you are also playing with your childlike energy. But then it's like children, like they're pretty adaptive and like they may not always be aware, but like they seem to like how to quote, I wouldn't say like dodge, but I'd say like I've seen kids fall on jungle gyms and catch themselves in ways that adults' minds would never let their body think that way. They wouldn't be like, oh, I can put my arm back like this and grab. The kid just does it and then is fine. And it's like, yeah, the bones are a little bit more rubbery and the tendons are a little bit more elastic, and so they can do that. But that was intuition that said, oh, if I just do this, this will make things better. It wasn't, oh, if I grab this at this angle, my body will twist at a 35-degree angle and I'll land on my feet. Kid just did it because something inside said do it. Yeah. And they just do it because they still trust themselves.
Yeah.
And that's part of like when our throat chakra gets deharmonized, we begin to like doubt ourselves and we don't trust our own voice and we don't trust our internal intuition. And so part of like when we talk about owning your voice, owning your power in a throat chakra way is like when you step into your voice and your power, it's not your voice externally. I mean, that's part of it, but it's also your internal voice. You're actually listening to your internal voice and trusting it. So trust is part of that. So Goku, blue, and to just like tie this into like Dragon Ball in general, when we first meet Goku, he's wearing blue and he is like pure honesty, pure absolute honesty. And so that concept too of like him being pure honesty, that's like where I guess I kind of wanted to start off was like Gohan's influence on Goku. So like Grandpa Gohan's influence on Goku has this huge role. Because like Goku gets sent here, like, as we don't know in Dragon Ball, but like we're taking the full hindsight picture that we know all the facts. Whether Toriyama knew this at the time or not, Goku is an alien, and he's from another planet, and he's essentially the the Superman story done right. Alien from another planet that was getting destroyed, but doesn't become the ultimate huge savior. He was actually sent to conquer the world, which that's one version. We later, and that's what Vegeta tells him, but then we later hear see Bardock's side, which is like the actual canon Bardock from Super, where he says he sent him there because he knew Frieza was up to something. Which we find out how he knows all that later. But Goku comes, he's a rowdy child. He does hit his head and becomes less rowdy, but doesn't lose any of his potential to be strong, determined, or willful. And like that's one thing I wanted to point out is like him himself, of his desire to do something, like his willpower. I said I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be honest about doing it, are traits that he had as a Saiyan. And then Gohan influences that and makes us better, but he directs them into a harmonic way. Because you can have drive, and you can get stuff done. I mean, look at Stalin. Stalin had plenty of drive.
Yeah.
Like he had no lack of willpower whatsoever. It's kind of the same thing, but I think it depends on like what you do with it. And so that's kind of a little bit like what I want to point out here is like Gohan taught Goku how to take whatever you're facing out here to go into your fire, and then it comes out differently. And this is something like I have someone I look up into in business, like Alex Hormozy, and like, say what you want about him and so forth. I mean, he's very, very straightforward, very blunt, not very woo in any fashion. But one of his things that he says, and it sounds kind of arrogant, but it's like, I don't care what is in your fire, just that you have a fire. Yeah. And like that sounds like, oh, I don't care if you're driven by revenge or wanting to prove people wrong. It's like, he doesn't. But at the same time, if you're a smart, mature person, whatever you put into the fire, you're like, it's coming out a different way. So you can put whatever you want into a fire, but then how you use the fire is what matters more. That's more of what he's meaning by that. So that's one thing I'd say about Gohan's influence, Grandpa Gohan's, and I'm going to say Grandpa Gohan, so don't get confused with the later Gohan. But Grandpa Gohan's influence on Goku really just refined these attributes that Goku already had in him. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on Gohan and Goku or.
So going into Goku then, since we covered pretty much everything about the dragon right there, at least for now.
for now, eventually we hit on Blue and we hit on Goku, and I was like, let's go.
So with Goku, I like this one because I first tapped into this one a long time ago when I was studying other stories from other cultures, and I was going to the Hindu ones, and I was like, this character reminds me a lot of Dragon Ball. And then I was reading more of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and I was like, these interactions are almost like lifted from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So I started looking into the characters like Arjuna, very specifically that one. Arjuna wears blue. He's known as the character who plays around but gets things done. When he plays around too much, it's like, oh crap, now I have to kill this guy because I messed around too long and the situation has gotten out of hand, and now I didn't want to do that, now I have to. Very Goku-like. Interesting thing, when you look at the depictions and the story of Arjuna, he supposedly went as far as Australia and all the way up to Japan and across all of Asia to Europe in his adventures in his story. And so if you go by that, there would be a reason for some kind of an element. The Japanese might have recorded that interaction because apparently they fought a war where Arjuna got them to submit out of respect that they were both ridiculously good warriors. And so they all just became bros, and then Arjuna left with a tribute for, I believe, Krishna, from the island, the people on the island. And that text states that those people are a new race of 1/3 demon, 1/3 man, 1/3 angel that have all just become one kind of being. And that's the people of that island and why they were able to do what they could do, but they were beginning to forget what they came from, which is why they were actually not able to beat him, even though they had the capability. They just don't know how to tap into it yet. So going back into Goku, if you look at the symbols and you look at the clothes and the behaviors and how he acts alongside the story of Arjuna, there's so much influence there. It has to be from that interaction in cultures. He wears the same clothes. Sure, Goku doesn't shoot arrows, but he does shoot energy projectiles. Yes. And how often does Goku miss? Almost never. Yeah. When he sends that thing at you, it's going to hit you, and that's usually it. It's over. Yeah. And so same with his punches, he'll go right through you. Yeah.
Or even if it's not over, it still hits its mark. It
hits its mark and did its job. Yeah. Yeah. And so there's a lot of that aspect. Then there's the color change. Goku will later switch to orange. Arjuna does the same thing. He switches to orange with a blue stripe instead of blue with an orange stripe. Yeah. And so he even follows that and goes on a whole different path with a whole different training arc and everything, learning a whole different combat abilities from a different master. Okay. So there's so much just almost mirrored allegory there, even in their adventures. Yeah. And so you have overwhelming potential talent, but no experience, complete naivete, willing to trust everything because he was surrounded by animals and nature. There's no lies there. There's no deception. There's no scheming. It's just what it is. Yeah. And he's just come up in that world. Yes. And so he is trying to apply all of that in immediately learning world knowledge. But we both know that everyone here should know that a child dropped into an adult world is not going to succeed. So he has to have some kind of guide. And at this point, Gohan's already gone. It's just the Dragon Ball.
It's just the Dragon Ball.
So what's his guide? Well, that's where we have the next character come along. And this is where you have everything is fine until everything in this character's world changed. Now that it's changed, the adventure can begin. Bulma hits him with a car.
No, it's true. Bulma hits him with a car. He's just come back getting some fish, and on his way, Bulma smacks him with his car. And that's one of those things. Like as soon as he hits that, he immediately tries to fight the car. Like he picks it up and throws it. Like
he assumes the car, it's an invading enemy of some kind.
Yeah, and it assumes it's an animal of some kind. It's something like it attacked him. It hurt him. And then like funny enough, it's like as soon as like she comes out, like I'm trying to remember like the actual conversation out, but it's like it's not very much of a conversation before she's then trying to shoot him.
Shoot him in the head, yeah.
Yeah, like shoot him in the head. And then as soon as she realizes she can't kill him, then she like tries to befriend him. Which is just so funny because like it's kind of the opposite of Goku. Like Goku like tries to befriend and like he's like, oh hey, what's going on? What's up with this? And he's like, okay. And half the time he fights people because he's like just because it's fun or because he has to, you know. And you do see this like once Bulma, you know, fast forward a little bit, they become friends and you know and so forth. And he's gonna take her back to the house. At some point, like she gets captured by a big bird and he has to go save her. And like he tries to talk to the bird first, and that tells him to ask him to put him down. And you see this like in a later on thing too with a similar kind of creature. He tries to ask the creature to not eat his friend.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't agree, so then he goes, "You're a bad bird," which almost like and you and then when he hits the bird with Bulma, it falls down. He goes, "I don't normally like to hurt people, but I guess that was necessary." Like. So there's almost this concept too of like he's got a little bit of like a bad good. Like if you're hurting people unnecessarily, you're bad, you know. But at the same time, like you know, at this, you know, I don't know. It's interesting because there's this concept too. Like I just think of like the cycle of nature of like what does Goku do when he comes upon like a predator going after like a normal prey, you know, like. Yeah.
I've thought about that too. Like, well, because it's very much the approach of what would a child do, except the child is strong enough to actually do whatever he wants to do.
Do whatever he wants to do. Like, it's his own moral judgment. I guess it depends on the situation.
I think in most cases, like giant tiger attacks small bunny, so you like stop that and smack it on its head.
yeah, he's probably gonna smack it on its head, you know. But at the same time, like I think it depends on where Goku's at in his thing. And I guess what I'm saying there is because like there is a point I just realized like later on in the show there is like this jaguar or something that goes after a monkey and the baby monkey and he stops it, but I wonder if the baby wasn't there if he would have.
If it was the tiger against the adult monkey, yeah, I don't think.
I don't know. Yeah,
like you two fight it out.
You figure it out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying because like he's a child, and he's got that childlike wisdom, but it's like. I just remember like so like I do these nature tours and there was one time we were up Big Cottonwood Canyon and we took someone up there and someone was like watching and this like weasel came out down the river. There's a river, there's some ducks in the river, and this weasel came out from, or I guess it might have been a mink. I don't know. I can't really tell the difference, but a weasel or a mink came out and it attacks a duck and it kills the duck and drags it away. And someone goes, "Oh, you should like carry like a 22 with you or something to like help defend the ducks when like the minks do that." And I just remember sitting there going like, you didn't say I should bring a 22 to protect us, the uninvited guest into nature. Like, I mean, I guess we're not uninvited, but like, you know, the guest in nature. You said a 22 to stop the mink from doing what it does.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, like the minks got to eat too. Like it's part of the cycle. Like this is how things work. You know, just kind of like let it go. But in my mind, I always thought about that. Like that's an adult. And like how often this like savior complex, like I've got to save somebody to fix it. That's like one thing I want to point out, like back to Dragon Ball, like with Bulma and Goku, there's not a save thing going on. Like he's not trying to save her right away, and she's not trying to save him, but they're going on a quest together. It's a call for adventure. He does hero journey kind of deny it because he doesn't want to leave, but then like she convinces him to like to go with his Dragon Ball and like go find other Dragon Balls and like go see the world. And so forth, which was this great and amazing like aspect there, but it's like that concept of there is no savior complex going on there, which a lot of stories kind of start off that way. And it's like I kind of like this here. This is a true hero's journey where it's about Goku's growth, but also Bulma's growth. And you see Bulma's influence on Goku, like he's so innocent. Like, I mean, it's comedy, but like, I mean, he's patting girls between the legs when he finds that the girls don't have balls.
Because he's like, they're what?
They're what?
He even says, "Oh, my grandpa's told me about them," but you thinking when he's like what, like 6, 7, 8 years old. When his grandpa told him this would have been before he died, younger than that, which means his grandpa's not going to give him the whole story. He's going to give him just the tidbit of being nice to girls.
Yeah, and Goku's 12 when he's in the tournament. And so that's after 8 months of training with Roshi. So about 4 months of trying to go a year later. So he's like actually like 11 when he meets, and he always says grandpa died a long time ago. So to an 11-year-old, 1 year is not a long time. I mean, it's kind of a long time, but a long time ago, it's probably 2 or 3 years, at least like a quarter of his life, So it's been a few years since he can go on, be nice to girls, not told anything else. So innocent in that way. And then like she has to kind of teach him, you don't do that, But then also there's so many times when Goku does something and she goes, you don't do that. And he goes, why? He goes, because it's not nice. Or she goes, because you just don't. Like she has to almost kind of teach him how to be in society, where a lot of us get it in that first 7 years. That first 7 to even 14 years. Like we don't come in like with a book knowing how to do it, but it's like that first 7 years, you learn how to be a brother or a child. What it means to be in a family, what it means to go to school, what it might mean to be like in a church community or a sports team or something. Those first like 10 years, that all happens. Goku's was Gohan and the mountain.
The mountain, yeah.
And like one little side instinct I'll say here real fast. In Demon Slayer, like different anime, you have Inosuke who's raised in the mountains. And Inosuke is Goku without a Bulma influence.
Exactly, yes. It just keeps going. It's just a few more years.
Like never met a Bulma.
Yeah.
Like doesn't have a concept of deities or electricity or anything.
Even has the thing of, I'll hit it with my head and it'll go down.
Yeah. And Goku has, like she opens it and he goes, we shouldn't play with magic. Like he thinks she's doing magic, which is interesting because it's like Grandpa Gohan taught him that magic exists in the world because they do have Bibidi and like not Bibidi, Roshi's Baba.
Yeah. Old Baba, yeah.
Old Baba, yeah. Roshi's sister, and it's like, so there is magic in the world. And he's like, you shouldn't play with magic unless you know what you're doing. Thinks the capsules are magic.
Oh yeah, immediately you must be a witch.
You must be a witch. And she's like, no, this is science, this is technology. She's like, teach him about that. And then the same thing concept too of like, he doesn't get why Oolong wants the girls, like why he's like capturing the girls for wives. He doesn't get that whole
It
concept.
just doesn't, why? They're not as useful as we are. Like we're fighters. They're not. Look at Bulma.
And then when he gets there, and Oolong's girls are all like lazy, and he just wanted one to come clean for him. So like he's not even like getting anything like sexual out of these girls in any way, or like marrying them, or
he didn't even get what he wanted out of them to begin with.
Yeah, he originally wanted them. He had a huge mansion. He wanted girls to come help clean it and cook for him. He wasn't even looking for a wife and those kind of wifely duties. And
he was looking for
quote unquote from Shameless, the Russian girl wifely duties, which meant like oral. He's not looking for those kind of wifely duties. He's looking for wifely duties of like, hey, can you mop the house? Can you make me a sandwich? Can you dust my ginormous mansion? So he keeps picking these 12-year-old girls because he's not looking for someone sexually. He's looking for, they're young enough to still know how to do chores.
But not old enough to have their own, willpower.
Their own willpower, their own money, their own...
But he didn't. He clearly doesn't understand 12-year-old girls.
Because he gives them whatever they want. Which is this whole thing, too, that I've always wondered. Oolong leaves his giant, fancy mansion and never goes back.
Yeah, he's done.
Like he is the Buddha that doesn't get enlightenment.
Yeah.
He leaves his mansion and eventually is like living on the island with Roshi. Like come Dragon Ball Super, that's where he's at. I have no idea what happened.
It's the most harmless part of his story is when he's stuck on that island now. And it's like because now he has everything he needs technically.
Yeah. Oh man.
So going back to Bulma, what I wanted to point out is because she is a very unique character across anime. Like she is an archetype of characters.
Yes, like she sits a precedent for future female characters in animes, but also like I'm sure some people might debate me on this. And like I know we all love Goku, and we all love like other characters in Dragon Ball. Like obviously, I love Dragon Ball. But Bulma is the most important character in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah.
Like all 3 series, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, most important character.
That's true. She's in every episode. She's a thing. So many things revolve around her, whether you realize her. I mean, look at the Namekian arc in Jumping for the Dragon Ball. Like, there's a reason why they keep going back to her is because she's got the ship, she's got the tech, she's got the radar. I mean, like, it all revolves around her. She is literally the brain.
Yeah, like Kami sends Popo to go get her because she's the only human with the capability to get that ship flyable for them. Because Kami goes, I might be able to get it ready and going, and probably could. You know, it would be within the power of the Dragon Balls, and he probably could get it ready to go for him to fly it. But he's also like, I'm guardian of Earth. Like, I don't leave Earth anymore. Like, I have no interest of going to Namek, which isn't even
his world.
and it literally isn't his world. Because when he left Namek, it was a different planet altogether, and they leave that planet and go to a different planet later.
It's before they wiped out all the albino Namekians.
Yeah. So, like, literally, it's a different zone completely together. Which she also has memories of being from the demon realm, which we won't go there. That's Dragon Ball Daima, and that's like
it's a whole different ball game.
Whole different ball game, but all is canon. And the only thing I'll say about that is most people with pointy ears came from the demon realm, which is a whole other thing I'll get into another time, like when we're going through like the dimensions of Dragon Ball Z and like how that's another world, but like how that fits in very well to how the 12 dimensions work that we understand from like the raw material or like other spiritual masters have kind of explained to us the dimensions. This just supports that better. So it's like either they're getting a download from somewhere, you know, like their higher self is having it come through creativity, or these anime creators are more spiritual than we think they are sometimes, or maybe more spiritual than I thought. But coming back to Bulma, I don't want to dive too down on a tangent there. But Bulma, and like you were saying, she sets a precedent of an archetype.
So the things that when we think about Bulma, we think, okay, so she's the cute girl. She also has this extreme willpower, self-driven. She is 100% her own woman. It's that modern parlance is I don't need no man. She's 100% that. She's even out there on the adventure by herself with her gun and her capsule box. I mean, she's got all she needs and she can even protect herself. She's expecting to be able to deal with anything that's out there without help. So that's a power woman character. But she's not the I know everything character. She's the one who thinks she does. So you get that immaturity of a teenager as well. Now, interesting thing, the blue hair, that was a little bit harder to figure out because that's just a trope in anime. And it's been there for so long, we almost don't see it anymore. But the hair colors.
Quick favor, make the hang loose sign on your lips and put the microphone that far away.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're just gotta keep it that distance just because when we set up the sound, that's where it was. But yeah.
Okay.
But in general, that's also like a good distance from mic is usually the hang loose sign from your mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, keep going.
So the blue hair with Bulma is a esoteric symbol of wisdom. Blue is wisdom. It can even be as far as magic. But what she is, we obviously know, is technology, not magic, which is basically the same thing, just one understood as the other.
So here's the blue repeating again.
Exactly. Blue is blue, intelligent magic, wisdom. But she's immature. So she kind of represents the idea of a young Athena character, where yes, she's very intelligent. She is the goddess of wisdom, but she's still young. She still hasn't gone into the world yet. She hasn't become this battle goddess of wisdom yet. She just has the knowledge. She has to go prove it. And so willpower, innocence, immaturity, but so much book knowledge. So she represents, honestly, most women of our era who live under that karma of I have to be able to go out there and do it all myself. But there are still moments like battles and violence where I still need somebody who is stronger. And it ends up being Goku, Yamcha.
Yeah.
Once in a while, Oolong.
When needed, yeah.
And that's, I think, why Bulma becomes such an integral character and its own archetype for other characters across animes, because she has all of those aspects of a real woman of our age. And she even has some of the toxic ones too, because we all have those toxic elements.
Yes.
And hers are so perfectly what her kind of woman has. And even when she kind of branches out, starts to change and mature, she starts to pick up some of the other ones that women of that age group tend to also manifest. And so it's a perfect example of a writer who knows real women, real human beings, and knows how to write a real human being. And you see, even in Bulma episodes, she has those same stories. She has shopping episodes. She has I hate my ex-boyfriend who's mooching off me episodes. She has that's a new guy episode. Like she has rebounding from Vegeta not being home and they fought when he left episodes. I mean, she has all of the woman issue episodes. But the series isn't spinning on those episodes. It's spinning on the adventure she's having with the other characters, the community, the relationships is what it's spinning on, not necessarily the little quirky dramas.
Yeah, exactly. And like those are tied in there to like show like she's having a life, she's doing a thing. Like, I mean, at some point later on too, she mentions I have 2 PhDs, and we know that happens somewhere in the time skips. So, you know, like. Because eventually we start hitting these 3-year time skips where it's like 3 years and then here's the next tournament, 3 years and then here's the meetup again, 3 years and here's the Saiyans, you know, blah, 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 and so forth. And so during those times she gets these degrees, but like there's one thing I want to point out, like I said, like she is very much her own self, and she is immature when we meet her, but she's mature enough that she's off on her own. Like she created the Dragon Radar. So she's super smart. So she may even already had one of those PhDs, like, I can't remember her exact age, like the beginning of Dragon Ball, but it's somewhere between 16 to 18. Because it's something around like the first tournament or whatever like that. Like she is 18, like she is an adult at that point. So it's clear that she obviously graduated high school early, which by the way, like Japanese wise, they have a different schooling system than we do anyways. Like their first like 4 years is nothing but manners and societal teachings and how to take care of yourself. So it's like, it is about like hygiene and like this is how you talk in public, this is how you talk to yourself, this is the importance of like rest, this is the importance of play. And they are learning like math and English along the way, but there's no grading. And it's not until middle school they get their grading system. And then you go through middle school and then you apply to go to a high school or a college or, you know, the next level, the next higher level. So I say that the concept of like her graduating early isn't as uncommon in Japan culture for someone to be 16 years old and like be done with first level of school and be looking into colleges.
They are already living on their own half the time.
Either living on their own or they're full independent. And also, a lot of Japanese culture is independent because career is a big thing. So like a lot of them do make their own breakfast, they make their own lunch, and they have dinner as a family. Like mom and dad are home then, but it's like when they get done with school, like they go off into extracurricular activities because mom and dad aren't there in Japanese culture. Like they're both off doing their own. And even if mom's not a career person, she's involved in the community or something. So like she's not home. Like when you wake up in the morning, she's like leaving at the same time. Like she might wake you up, but then like you know, you're usually leaving after she's already left.
It's a pretty well established trope in anime that you almost never see the parents, and when you do, it's, oh yeah, we went to America on a business trip, or we went to Europe on a business trip. Yeah, and that's the meme now because, well, in Japan, that is just how it goes.
or it's like, yeah, you're seeing them at 7 p.m. at night, you know, for dinner together, and that's important family time. Like these, you know, you're only seeing the parents for like 2 hours at a time, and it's because they're done. It's not that all these kids are orphaned, but they are they can take care of themselves. They're taught to take care of themselves. So I'm saying like her off on her own isn't that unusual. But the fact that she's created the Dragon Radar and she's off on this great adventure on her own is a level of like not maturity, maybe like emotional maturity, but mental maturity. She's great. She's super smart. She's very clever, you know. And she's obviously been around the world enough that she knows how to like flirt, and she knows how to talk to people, and she knows how to be nice, and she knows, you know, like she's a bit of a brat, but she's not like a brat that doesn't know how the world works. She's a brat because she's a bit of like, you know, quote unquote a bitch, a little bit.
She's technically a rich girl too.
Yeah, she's a rich girl, but also she's not a rich girl that was just given everything. She was given anything she wanted to be able to do whatever she wanted. And what she chose to do was create stuff and go on adventures. And the fact that she could have anything she wants in the world. So what's the one thing she can't buy? A boyfriend. So what does she want? Magical Dragon Balls to wish for a boyfriend. The thing that money can't buy. The thing that she can't create.
Boyfriend too, yeah.
Like with all of her brains, she can't create a boyfriend.
it's interesting too because her family, like her and her father, are the inventors of like most of that planet.
Yeah.
And they even have nemesis inventors because all scientists have enemies. They all have mortal enemies they met along the way, and so they of course have theirs. And it's Dr. Gero with the whole Red Ribbon arc that comes later, and. What did he do? He built people instead of tools, instead of items, because he's like, people aren't good enough, I'll build my own. So he actually did the thing she knew, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't want to build people, we'll build these products over here, and and that's what
ends up successful, ends up happy.
Yeah, like her dad creates the capsules, which I think is interesting because it's Capsule Corporation, but oh man, I just lost it. They call them something else in the whole, like in Dragon Ball. You call them a different name. Like they're called capsules, but they're Dino Caps. They're called Dino Caps.
Yeah, Dino Caps.
They're Dino Caps forever. And then I guess tell me that they're still called Dino Caps. They just get called Caps later. But Capsule Corp is her dad's business. Like it's this big, huge thing. They're the ones that came up with technology to put stuff into capsules. So of course that's why she's got a bunch of them and so forth. But yeah, like if you look at this like. This is not what this is about, but entrepreneur-wise, Bulma's dad, Dr. Briefs, that is like, which by the way, like that's Bulma's last name is Briefs. Mm-hmm. Just for those that like have never put that together. But anyways, Dr. Briefs, that's like his whole concept of like putting stuff in there is like the world has a problem, I'm going to solve that problem. Dr. Gero's was, I have a problem, I'm going to solve that problem. Same as like you see his grandson later. I have a problem, I'm going to solve it. But his grandson's so innocent because he creates zombie androids to go work minimum wage jobs. Because he doesn't want to work the minimum wage jobs, but he needs money for his research. So it's like, it's not like there's no like maliciousness there. It's just this pure innocence of like, hey, but like he could have just robbed the store himself and would have made more money. Like he could have like had them robbing things and made more money. But instead he has them running normal jobs.
Man. Just start your own company.
Come on, guy. Young kid. Too. But coming back to Bulma and Dragon Ball and like how this ties into like the Dragon Ball and like they go off on an adventure for the Dragon Balls.
Yes.
But her whole thing is, I want a boyfriend. And so here's this magical thing, which, again, smart enough to be one of the, 5 to 10 people that know about the Dragon Balls in the whole world. Mm-hmm. Like later on, we find there's a few others that know, and like Master Roshi actually knows the whole story. And a few other people know the story, but it's like this legend or like it doesn't really exist kind of thing. And to Roshi it does, but also Roshi drank from the Fountain of Youth, and we don't actually know how old Roshi is. Per se.
One of those guys for like, what would I even wish for? I've got what I need. I've got what I want.
Yeah. And so saying, for her, she's like, all I need is a boyfriend. And so she goes off on this adventure with Goku to keep her safe and so forth. But also at the same time, like she establishes this archetype of the cute female character in anime that goes with the spiky-haired protagonist. Like spiky-haired protagonist with the cute girl that has semi-sexual comments and like leans towards comes from her. Like, granted, as anime goes on, it gets less and less because of it is young, but it is in the 80s, and there's like a lot more that goes on in that way. But like, that's the archetype that's set up. That she's either brilliant, independent, cute, and is the side character / motivation for a lot of the things that happen. Because as I think she's the most important character. Like none of this happens. Like she finds Goku, he never would have left the mountains without her. Never would have found the Dragon Balls. There's also like other things that like tie in there later, but like because of her, he never would have met the turtle, and never would have taken the turtle back to the ocean to then help Master Roshi and so forth. Had Bulma not pulled him off the mountain.
Women give men direction. They give them like she has the radar. The radar is a compass to the goal, and so she literally provides that by virtue of her own existence. We'll build a relationship with him. Now he has a driving force and impetus. Otherwise, like you said, would remain on the mountains forever.
Yeah, and he was having a good life, a good solid life. Like we should point out too, like this takes his life from like okay, good to great to his potential. Goku actually gets to step into his fullest potential and become who we know him to be later on. But had not, he could have been a simple like mountain hermit that just chilled by himself, did his own thing, like fished by himself, like never got his power level above 40.
By the time the world changing events would have come, he would have been just another guy. He would have been another Yamcha.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I mean that's the thing too, is like when he meets Yamcha, he's stronger than Yamcha, technically, just a little bit, but also he's hungry, and so they're like evenly matched. And like, well, that's one thing I want to point out about Yamcha in general. Yamcha always like Yamcha is not the most useless character in Dragon Ball either. One, you see him in Dragon Ball, he actually has quite a bit of a purpose, but all throughout Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, he is actually like there for world building. He is the power scaling. So like he always loses the first round in every single tournament, but he always loses to whoever's going to become the world champion.
Oh.
So
even Hercule, that's right.
Yeah, even Hercule. Well, does he lose against Hercule?
He was in Dragon Ball. He loses to Hercule by getting headed by Hercule in the balls, trying to perform an awesome jump kick.
Oh, right. And the yeah. That's right, yeah. In Dragon Ball Z, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah.
That whole fight is forever burned in my mind in Spanish.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because that's the whole thing. Is even Hercule, and then he becomes on the world champion. Yeah. And so that thing, like he was the Jackie Chan, and he was the Tien. Yeah. I forgot that even Hercule is involved in that.
He was like scrawny, but had the afro still.
Yeah, had the afro still. Well, and then also Yamcha shows up as the one step behind them at all times. So you always know wherever he's at. For most of it, he's the one step below. So it's like, even when Goku and him meet, like they're kind of evenly matched. But then from then on, anytime Yamcha struggles, you know that Goku might not be able to do it. Because he's only one step below Goku. He's not like so far below that's like, okay, it'll be fine, whatever. It's like, no, it's like, oh, Yamcha struggled. Oh crap, that means something. And that's why like Yamcha is actually like this badass character. And he's the first one we see do a special technique. He's the very first one. Wolf Fang Fist comes out, kicks Goku's butt with it. Like the fact that Goku talks about it later, like when they meet him later, Krillin is all like, oh, who's that guy? He's like, he's Yamcha. He has this crazy technique that hurt me real bad one time. Like that's how Goku remembers Yamcha. Oh, yeah. Not the fact that they spent like several months like later on together and like, you know, we're locked in a prison together, which we'll get to, you know, in Pilaf's castle, but it's that concept of like he remembers this guy has a really awesome technique. Also, I should point out, is one of the very few techniques that Goku never copies. It's true. He sees it, it kicks his butt, he never tries to copy it. Unlike the Kamehameha, first time he sees, but we'll get to that, but I don't know. Anything wants to go about Yamcha. Like, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm a little excited on Dragon Ball, but I mean the idea of, you know, Yamcha shows up, Desert Bandit, who he also is like probably an adult at this time. We have no idea who his parents are or how old he is, but old enough to be interested in Bulma, but young enough to be immature and shy with girls, and obviously maybe similar background to Goku, never been around a lot of girls. I mean, enough that he knows that he always melts around girls.
Like you said, with he's like a step below Goku. In this sense, he's a step ahead of Goku, where he's much more mature. So he represents that immature older male. And what I really like about his character on my most recent watch, I realized, holy crap, Yamcha is a werewolf archetype. The Wolf Fang Fist is your first clue. The Wild Man appearance is your second. And so they give him Puar as his cute little thing, because all the big scary characters have cute little things. They even have him chip his tooth, his fang. And now that is always emphasized that, oh, the werewolf chipped its fang, it's not scary anymore.
Gotcha. Oh, that's true.
And then Bulma immediately falls for the werewolf. It's a trope within a trope.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's this attractive man, falls for him, runs away. He's shy, which is that mysterious thing, which, I mean, this is something that Alan Watts even talks about not giving your full self away all the time. But like when you meet someone, like, you get to know them. But even like if you're going to teach someone, or if you're going to be involved in any community or any business, like any group you get in, it's better to like reveal yourself as time goes on, because relationships are stronger as they get to know each other. But if you lay everything on the table and they know your whole story from day one, there's no intrigue, there's no mystery. And the mystery actually builds bonding. So that's why, like, when you go on dates with people, it's like you go on a date, you get to know each other, and then you're official, and then you're engaged, and then maybe you get married, or maybe you don't, or whatever. But you spend time and years together getting to know each other. So at the early stage of dating, it's like, people, I've always laughed at this. It's like when someone like first starts dating, they're like, oh, well, that's like my girlfriend. It's like, I've got to tell her everything. I'm like, you've been dating her for a month. What do you mean you got to tell her everything? You don't even know them yet. Like, you know them. And even if you talked every day for every minute for an entire month straight, you would now know them to a degree. But now you haven't seen how they show up in different reactions, like how they show up in experiences.
It's still surface level.
It's still surface level. That's why, like, she's attracted to him, because he's like, oh, he's this cute guy, did a thing, but then later he saves her, and so now he's like her hero, but doesn't really know his past. Doesn't understand it. He gets pissed off when he chooses to go off and like train alone for a month by himself. Like, it's all mad. Like, to Yamcha, that's who he is. Mm-hmm. He lives in the freaking desert half the time. So him going off on his own, she's like, rah! And he's like, what? Why is that an issue?
That's how I met you. You were doing that.
Yeah, it's like the girl that gets mad. That's like, really? Like, moves in with some guy that plays video games all the time. Like, moves in with a Twitch streamer and is mad. Is like, are you really just gonna play Twitch all the time? You're just going to be streaming on Twitch and you're going to be playing Fortnite all the time for 8 hours a day? Is that all? Like, what are you doing? It's like, he said that, but you didn't get that until you experience it. Mm-hmm. He said he believes in fighting. He said he wants to go to the martial arts tournament. You didn't get what that meant until he steps into it. Mm-hmm. Same when I first started doing like content creation. Like, when I first went into entrepreneurship, like, there became a time, like, not even content creation, but it became a time when I had to figure out like where I was going to do like a lot of my work with, and there had to be some things like, hey babe, like with my wife, like there's this many set times and hours of a day that, like, I'm not available. And I guess evolved over time. Like, when I had coaching clients, like, obvious, like when I'm with a client, that's what I'm doing. But as I've moved more into content creation, especially over like the last last year or two, it's like, yeah, from like 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., like, she knows that, like, that's not really a time I'm available. Yeah. Like, if you need me and that's an emergency, yes. And like how we're getting ready to record, she came in and talked to us for a little bit and so forth, but she got the idea, like, we're going into this. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm essentially unavailable for the next X amount of hours because I'm doing this thing. Mm-hmm. But when we first got married, that wasn't clear. It wasn't clear that as an entrepreneur, I'm not just sitting around the house twiddling my thumbs all day. Yeah. Like, I'm in the house, but like, I'm spending 8 hours working on clients or a business or things, and sometimes I'm doing stuff that doesn't pay me right now. Exactly. It pays me months down the road. I put in 100 hours, and I get paid for those 100 hours 3 months from now.
Yeah, it's easy to say, well, I'm building my own business or I'm running my own company, but there's something I just went through the explanation with my own girlfriend was, there are stages where on the outside it seems like, oh, well, you built a business, it should be paying you, right? You should be collecting paychecks, right? Imagine there's a giant wheel and it's like 1,000 pounds. You can move it, it's a wheel. There's even a hill going down in front of you where it will pick up speed and move itself eventually. But the fact is, I have to start that roll first from not moving at all, and it's heavy. I might have to get leverage sticks and logs to do it. I might need help to come and help push it. In the first couple revolutions, it's going to be grueling, but once it picks up momentum, eventually it's rolling so fast, I'm going to need help to keep it going straight. Yes. And that's the point that everyone thinks is immediate. Oh, you built a company, you should be paying you, right? It could take years, it could take months, it really depends. And once it starts to roll, it's not that my effort is done, it's that my effort changes and increases. And so there's so much of that when you're in the position of I'm trying to create, I'm trying to run a company, I'm trying to do all that myself. When you're in the position, you see all of this, and it's excruciating because it looks like the hill isn't down, it's up and forever onward. Yeah. And that's what it looks like. But at least you can see that path. You can see every single bump, and you can plan ahead. And as long as you're dedicated and you focus it, just like with training, with martial arts training, as long as you focus it on that goal and hone your skills, you will get up the hill to the end of the path.
Exactly, 100%. And like in that concept of like, bringing into Dragon Ball, like martial arts, it's like we use the tournaments as an example. So like they know the tournament is X amount of time away. Mm-hmm. So they know in order to be at this certain level, I've got to do it. And in the example of Dragon Ball, like the first time Goku and Krillin go to the tournament, they don't know what they're really getting into. They kind of know, but they kind of don't. Mm-hmm. The second time they go, they fully know. But it's kind of like starting your own business or getting into content creation, which content creation is a business thing. Like it is something like, you can do content creation as a hobby, but I'm doing content creation with the intent that like this is bringing in income and way. Also creating these episodes is fun for me. So it's like, right now, like this episode, like we're just creating because it's fun to create, and I hope people are getting great value out of it and they enjoy it and they're having a good time. But in that business sense, it's like you do stuff that's like, IPAs, and that's not a beer. I mean, like it's income producing activities. And then you have other activities that like make it fun and exciting. Because like I could make as much as I make now a year working 40 hours at some job I hate.
Yes.
Or I can do what I do now, which is like I get to do the stuff I enjoy. Even working for a tour company, I choose to do that and I enjoy going out and doing tours. I actually get excited about going out to nature and spending time in nature. I'm not like, crap, I gotta drive a van for 6 hours. I'm like, sweet, I get to drive a van and we get to go out in nature, we get to see animals and spend time in fresh nature, and I get to ground and like I may even get to see some cool shit I never get to see. I get excited about it. So even like I work for someone for that, it's like I get to choose. Like I work half as much as probably the average person does and make as much as like the average. I'm not trying to put anyone down by saying that, but the point here I'm bringing into this and like how this ties all in Dragon Ball is like following your passion. Mm-hmm. Like Goku's authenticness and like his honesty drives him forward. Same with Oolong. Even Oolong's authenticness drives the story forward. He tries to run away a couple times and they pull him back, and that drives the story forward. Bulma's authenticness. So it's like this desire, this goal they have. So Goku's is, I'm along for the journey. We're going to make a wish on the Dragon Balls. Bulma's convincing me to go. Cool, we're doing this. He's kind of just innocently along for the ride, but he's in it for the adventure. And he's in it to get to see the cool things. Bulma's is she wants the Dragon Balls to have a boyfriend. Yamcha's, after they meet him, he's following them around, chasing them, so they can get the Dragon Balls, and he can steal the Dragon Balls from them later, so he can overcome his shyness.
His fear of women.
His fear of women. His fear of women of all things, Because he can steal anything he wants. He's strong enough that he can get whatever he wants. Like, he might be living in a cave in the desert, but he's okay with it. So, like,
he's even got Poor, so he has a companion.
He has a companion. As a friend, yeah.
He just doesn't have a woman.
A woman, yeah. And the way I'm going to tie this back into like business a little bit, just to kind of wrap that up there, is it's like you have choices about the way you want to run your business. Like I know other coaches that are very successful and they're a little bit on the high ticket end coach, but they work 5 to 10 hours a week. And their goal in life isn't to make millions or hundreds of thousands. It's to be able to spend time doing whatever they want to do. Mm-hmm. So one guy I know, his name is Christian. He's a really awesome coach. He actually like huge big TikTok guy, one of the very few people I know that actually pulled off being successful on TikTok, like got clients from TikTok.
Wow.
Most people, I don't know, maybe other people can, but like I don't know very many people that get clients from TikTok that come in through a Calendly, sign up, and spend thousands of dollars. Like he has like a 3-month program, it's like $3,000 for 3 months. I'm going off on a sidetrack. Point being, he literally told me, he's like, I like to work 5 to 10 hours a week, because I like to spend a lot of time doing nothing or hanging out by the ocean. He lives in Hawaii. But he literally set up his life and his business in that way. Mm-hmm. So his goal was, I want to chill as much as I possibly can, and I want to make a difference in the world. How do I do that? Okay, I'll make this bare enough amount that allows me to live this way.
Yes.
I know other entrepreneurs that are like, I want to be a 7-figure coach. And so they work 70 hours a week, or someone like myself that's like, I work a lot, but a lot of time and energy into it. I still work half as much as the average person. I could go more into focus and so forth, but it's like, I'm using as an example, it's like, what's the goal you're aiming for? I'm going at a pace that I want because I'm very aware of what I'm trying to grow and what level I'm aiming to grow. Like, I want to create a more beautiful world. And the way I'm going to create a more beautiful world is through content creation and through courses and through retreats and taking people into experiences that make their life better. So maybe you watch this and you have a great time and your day is 10% better and your life is 1% better from this video. Great. That's my purpose for this video, is to make somebody's, just one person, even if there's only one person, life better by 1% from this one video. Take a course, I want your life to get a little bit better than 1% better.
Yes.
You come to a retreat with me, I want your life to get 100% better. But it's like whatever level you come into me at, your life is going to improve. So that's why I do what I do, because I want to see a more beautiful world. And the best way I know to have a more beautiful world is for individuals to improve their individual life and let that ripple up to the collective. Now, am I trying to grow a $100 billion business? No. If it ends up being a $100 business, great. That probably means there's 100 billion people I can help. But like, that's not the full purpose. Need money for the mission? Yes. Is the mission to become a billionaire? No. Is the mission to change 8 billion people? Kinda. So I use that as an example. It's like, if I had a Dragon Ball wish, my wish would be for a more beautiful world. Or to give me the resources to create a more beautiful world.
A lesson that I think I picked up from Dragon Ball itself, especially even from, if you just go from the peel-off arc, any part of Dragon Ball Z Super, all of it, I feel like there's an innate lesson that is, it's not about what you can't accomplish. It's about how do I accomplish it anyway. And so there's a lot of times where, as an entrepreneur, I think that a huge part of being an entrepreneur is learning that lesson, that everyone and their dog will tell you can't do that, including yourself. You'll tell yourself, I can't do that. I'm working a full-time, for example, I'm working a full-time job, maybe 40, maybe 80 hours a week. Then I've got to take care of family, kids, dogs, animals, farm, who knows? And then you're telling yourself, I don't have time. That's all telling yourself you cannot do this thing. The earth is set up in a way, our lives are set up in a way, humanity is psychologically encoded in a way to find a way anyway. That's the word. The word itself, anyway, means it will be done. I just have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Goku, Yamcha, Bulma, all of these characters, even Pilaf to a certain degree, is learning the lesson of there is can't. Can't is really just won't.
Mm-hmm.
We can do anything. We can accomplish anything. You can save the world. You can blow up the world. It just comes down to, are you willing to remove can't and say, how can I anyway?
Yes.
And that's something that has led me into this. I used to be in that situation. I hate my job, hate my life, hate the whole situation, and blaming everyone else for it. The first step was realizing I'm at the center of all of that blame because I'm the one perpetuating that life. And then it came down to, well, I do have time I spend relaxing, recharging, just playing games, watching TV, all as an excuse of, well, I need to recharge for the 5 days straight that I have to work anyway. When in reality, that recharge could have been me creating something new that alleviates the load of that job so I can reduce my hours at that job while replacing the income. And eventually you get to the point where you replace that job with what you've created. When I realized that is the goal, that is the American dream, that is the point of, that is not only the point, but the route to become independent in this world. I realized it was truly just about can't and won't. I choose to live in a world where I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. The word can't to me is a self-imposed principle. It's a glass ceiling. It's me limiting myself with my own self-imposed ignorance. Remove that and say, how can I do it anyway? And within 5 to 10 minutes of that mindset, all kinds of solutions, all kinds of out-of-the-box ideas start coming in, and it's just innovation time. I invite everyone in the world to try that. Just try that with any problem. How small, how big, just try that. Say, I choose to find a way that I can anyway.
I can anyway. Which I 100% agree. Because that's what it comes down to. Like you said, with Dragon Ball, like there's all focus on the ball. But like with business or your life, it's like, what do you actually want? What are you aiming for to create? And it comes back to, like, we see this in personal development, like, what's your why? Like, why do you want something? But the why can't really exist until there's a what. You know, and the what comes from a desire, a calling. Like, it can be something you want in your life because you want it. Like, you can't have the full nihilist view, which there's nothing wrong with it, of like, nothing happens after I die, so I'm going to live my life fully, and I'm going to be happy in this life, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen. I'm going to go get whatever job I want. I'm going to go down whatever path I want. I'm going to have the relationships I want. I'm going to go travel the places I want to travel. You know, you can play life that way, you know, and then there's also that you could be like, well, I feel like I came into this world for a reason. I feel like there's a purpose, a calling. I feel called to a certain thing. And like for myself, like I feel called to be an entrepreneur, but I do feel called to lead retreats. I do feel called to the shamanic path. There is a calling there, and I do believe my soul has a call, has a connection to that. That there's a part of my soul came to this incarnation for that reason. But I'm putting it all in there, and it's like I can do anything. And even saying my soul has this calling, that's not meaning there's a part of me that's like is in resistance to it. That means I accept it. I wanted it. There might be a part of me that isn't always like, comfortable with it, but there's the calling. Same as like the martial arts calling, going for the Dragon Balls. It says can. And you mentioned like Pilaf, like even Emperor Pilaf in some ways has this goal and desire, but the biggest thing between him and Goku is the intentions behind it and the way they go about doing it. There is like, yeah, you can, but like when things don't work off, Pilaf goes into victim mode. He goes into, oh, why can this never work out for me? Oh, it's always against me. That boy is stalking me.
Yes.
Like he thinks Goku is stalking him. Not the fact that they're both going for the Dragon Balls. He thinks Goku is purposely going out of his way to like no, they're both going after the Dragon Balls, and they both have goals. But then also Pilaf's way is very much, this is the way. Like, I order you to do this. I force you to do this. Go and do this. Be this. Oh, you're not going to give me the Dragon Ball? Then I'm going to shoot at your people. Like he would conquer the village. Yeah. He is early Frieza energy. I will blow up your village and kill everyone in it. Even though he's not quite a murderer like Frieza is, but he's very much like, I would rather burn your village to the ground to get the Dragon Ball versus how can we come to an agreement here? So like this is also a little bit like to tie into business a little bit and like just life in general. It's that scarcity mindset. Pilaf's is my way is the only way, and so it has to be done. And it's also very cartel-like. It's very like I don't care about other crews. And like you can see this a little bit, but like Goku is like, well, I do care about other people. I do care about things. And his energy is much more of an abundant energy of an and. So there isn't an or. It's not my way or the highway. It's my way and your way. How can there be an and in a situation? Which is abundance. Which is a lesson I was taught, but I've like really learned recently, like very well. Like it's really a lesson I've been learning pretty strongly lately. Is that abundance is and. It's not or. It's not you this or that. It's and this.
Yes.
As an example, like we've talked about, I mean, I've shook you a little bit. Like we've talked about selling this house at some point and moving into an RV and traveling around the nation more, like going around the world more. Like, oh, we're going to sell the house, so like we can do that. And also, like, also we don't have roots here connected to it. And I didn't realize there's actually a little bit of a scarcity mindset in that. Like, oh, I have to get rid of the roots in order to be free to do that thing. Versus, and you can keep the house and buy an RV and travel the world and do what you want to do. Like, and it's just like this little tweak that I didn't realize was a mental blockage. I'm not saying like it's like that's the 100% right way to do it or anything like that. It was just that idea. Like once I realized, oh, it's not an or, it's an and. I didn't realize I was going house or travel the world and live in an RV and also go to other countries. I didn't realize I was doing the or thing with it. But once I realized I was doing the or thing, more abundance actually unlocked. Little things begin to trickle in. And it's like, mental blockage shift, the universe responds. And so you see this with Goku, you see this with Bulma. How do we do this and? Oh, you're not just going to give me the Dragon Ball? Okay, how about we get rid of this evil monster that's coming and taking your girls away? And if we defeat it, then can we? Sure. Okay, Goku, you're on. Like, that's Bulma going, and?
How can we anyway?
And even though she comes from a rich background, she also lives in the and mindset. She doesn't command Goku to come with her. She doesn't act like a princess that's like, nope, you're with me now. I can pay you for it. She's like, how do I convince him? And same in other ways. Like, yeah, she tries to use her like feminine wiles from time to time, you know, and it even backfires her on a little bit from time to time, like where she, one gets denied, Or like when she tries to do it like Master Roshi and like doesn't realize she's not wearing underwear.
Oops.
Whoops. Like, you try to use your feminine wiles and you went a little too far on that, and that concept though. But like again, there's never this, how do I force you to do something? It's how do I convince you?
Mm-hmm.
Now you do see her do this with Oolong, like because she had to eat the pill, and then she can say piggy, and then
Yes.
have to poop. You do see her be forceful with him, but you also see that Oolong is like nice to her and like semi-respectful, but he's definitely never going to give it the shirt off his back. Like he's never going to go out of his way to help her the way every other people do. Everyone else that she's treated with an and relationship is willing to help Bulma. Everyone she's treated with kind of like, I'm going to force you. He's like, I'm here. Like, I'm going to reap the benefits of being around you. But like, oh, you want me to turn into a ladder? No. Oh, you're going to say piggy? Okay, I'll turn into a ladder.
That's like, I think it's interesting because breaking down Oolong, he's the pig character. He's also introduced as, I'm deceiving all of you to get what I want. So he is established as a carnal, very earthly, animalistic urges type of drive character where he is driven by those urges. And at first, it might seem, oh, they're entirely sexual, bad, he's a pig, urges. Then, like we said before, we realized, oh, he just wanted them to clean his house, and they're all too snooty to do that because he paid them first. He goes, oh, he's not really that bad. He's also just kind of stupid. But there is a touch of that with the whole panties thing, where he does have a touch of, he is thinking, because he's still mature. He's just, he's an older male. He's also just more lascivious too.
Yeah.
And because of that, again, run by his carnal desires, he falls into, I'm greedy, I'm horny, I'm scared, and I'm a coward, and I'm selfish, and he's only brave when he's getting money, girls, or getting away.
Yeah. Well, and then even like with some of his little pervy things, you see him resist, and then give into it. Like this is jumping ahead. I know we're focusing on the Pilaf arc, but like into like some of the tournament stuff. Like there was a moment where like he's holding Bulma up, and like he glances up and realizes he can see up her skirt, and then he looks forward, and the literal line is, "Thank goodness I'm not a pervert." Meaning like he could the whole time just, and he chose not to. And then like she falls, and he's like, "Oh well, now I have a view because she's on her back." But then he realizes there's a whole crowd of people that are also looking, so then he shields her. Like,
yeah.
Like there's this like
he's playing with the line of, am I really pervy, or I'm really not pervy. I should respect women.
Like,
he's balancing.
He's balancing. He's that carnal urges though. It's that carnal urges of like, like I do want to see, and I am, so he's a mature male. He's giving a little bit into that perviness, but not in the full-on maybe Roshi way or dirty old man way, where it's blatantly obvious. He's more of like like I acknowledge beauty exists in the world, and if the opportunity is there, I'm going to look. But at the same time, she is my friend, so like, hold on, everybody, like this isn't a peep show.
Long.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to mention about Pilaf too, is that since we just went right through Pilaf, is something that I've discovered when looking at him. He's usually described as three things: either a monster earthling, or an imp earthling. And so I take that as, because when you go to Toriyama's official sources, it's both are stated. So, okay, he stated this at one point, stated that one point, and he never corrected or said the other one was wrong or more correct.
Yeah.
So he's an imp and a monster, but also an earthling. So that esoterically, especially going from the fact that it's originally a Chinese story, it's lifted heavily from the Chinese sources, you see Emperor Pilaf crowned himself. He's not the world's emperor by any means, or else he wouldn't be doing this whole I need to conquer the world thing. He wouldn't have to fight with other factions. He would already be it. So he's self-imposed. He's got only 2 henchmen, no kingdom, no massive proof of his mandate. Nothing. It's just, I have 2 guys.
I have 2 guys, but like he does have soldiers at the beginning. Like he has like team this zone for discover this.
That's true.
Team this, and then he has the whole.
But there's no. So there is an organization, but it's very much You all work for me. You're my henchmen. There's no village. There's no production. There's no economy. It's just I'm in control because I have the guns.
Yeah.
And then you look at his features. It's the imp. The imp esoterically worldwide represents selfish, greedy, typically dirty, and small, impotent, but very conniving. And he is all of those.
Yeah.
And then they give him the childlike hat and the dress, but they also give him that royalty European collar.
Yeah.
And so he's a eunuch. That's literally just a eunuch from their history, their mythology, their understanding. That's a eunuch. He's even making himself in charge of the world when he has no business being in charge of the world. Has produced nothing to show that he's worthy of it. But by all means, he better be in charge.
Yeah.
And then he has no nose. There's something interesting about why Toriyama does that. When he draws a character with no nose, it literally means they are impotent. So there are two reasons behind impotence. One, the eunuch, it was taken. That's why he's got the whole chip on his back, why he's evolved. There's something that happened to him that made him that way.
Yeah.
You go to the next character who has no nose, is Krillin. He's impotent because he hasn't grown up yet. So why he has no nose. And then even all the way into the end of the series, he still has no nose. Why? Because he's still immature in a lot of different weird ways, even when he's an old cop and a dad.
Yeah.
He still has it. Even with the mustache and GT, no nose.
No, he still has this immaturity. Plus, it's like once you drawn him that way, like you can't add one. You can't add one. It's gonna look very obvious. Like, and you do see that he has more of a nose feature, something just like when you pointed it out.
Sideways,
it's
there,
but
there.
Small. But it's not. But like the curvature, like he has a normal side view human profile where Pilaf doesn't.
It's specifically gone.
It's specifically gone.
You draw the spaces for it, and it is not there.
That's not there. Yeah, like they make it very clear that's not there. Where Krillin's is just like almost like they don't put the eye thing there to make it obvious it's not there. They make the bump as almost like
the blush mark and everything.
Like almost like he doesn't have nostrils, or his nostrils are too small to be seen. Like that's almost how he's portrayed until, again, like jumping ahead a little bit about like the tournament, when like Goku points out to Krillin he doesn't have a nose. Like, and then they fourth wall it, and they fourth wall the drawing of not having being drawn without a nose. That whole concept. But yeah, like I guess so he didn't. But yeah. But
that's Pilaf's whole interesting little thing there. I mean, and it makes such perfect sense going all the way into way later on where he pops up again as in Super when they're all his kids. Everything it still makes sense there because he didn't grow up. He didn't learn anything new. He just got reduced back down to child body and is still at everything, still doing everything as he was before. And the only thing that changes in his behavior is he reacts more as a child because he's in a child body, child brain chemicals and sequences, but the logic is all still Pilaf. Classic Pilaf.
Yep. And like there is that, they try to sell Dragon Balls a little bit here and there in Dragon Ball Super, but really they do mature in a different way. Like they're children again, so they're dependent on someone, but they're smart, and so it's like Bulma's taking care of them, and essentially, quote unquote, kind of adopts them, and like they live there, and like they work for her, and so forth, and have a balance. And then you see this a little bit in the manga, like later when Mai becomes a teenager again, like there's a little bit of flirtation between her and Trunks, but like she's very much her own person. But that's one thing to point out there, like with Pilaf, like they're this character, and it's like the dog is loyal to him, and Mai is loyal to him, and they have their own viciousness or whatever. But it's like following their whole storyline on, like at some point they get turned back into kids, and they're actually a much softer version. Like Mai becomes a completely different person, which Mai isn't something I was going to talk about in this one, but like just that concept of like she is actually an adult when she meets Goku, and is actually older than Bulma, and then gets turned back into a kid. And so then like later, like when she like falls in love with Trunks and ends up with Trunks in the future timeline and all that stuff, there's this concept of like she's lived 2 lives. So she very much knows who she is, knows what she wants. She's been through some battles, she's been through some torn things, And so it's just an interesting concept, which I think is funny and super when it's like Mai's a little girl and like Bulma's like, sometimes she act like this. And I was like, well, yeah, because she used to be. And but you see Mai's personality changes the most. And the dog's changes a little bit too, but in a lot of ways, Shu, the dog, like he's very much just
he's a dog.
He's a dog. Like he's loyal to Pilaf, but also like he's nice to people, and then like.
And as a dog, he's only capable of so much. Yeah, Pilaf always sets the bar here, but the dog is only capable of here.
Yeah, and like expects all this of him, and it's the same. But he's very loyal to Pilaf. Like he is, like real best friend. Like, so it's just interesting. And then obviously, like, Pilaf is the imp, which I think is interesting. He never gets taller, never gets on. He's a self-proclaimed emperor. And like I said, like, he did have a team in a way, but like that team slowly kind of dissipates. It's like there's a team looking for the Dragon Balls, and Team A found this, Team Z did this, blah blah blah. And then they kind of go away, and it's just like these two henchmen. And he's like, I can't trust you guys to do anything. I'm gonna go with you everywhere. And then his palace gets destroyed, and then he has a flying one later on that gets destroyed later. But it's like, where did Pilaf get all this money from? So like, he's almost similar to Bulma, and obviously is a rich kid. Like, obviously has a trust fund of somewhere, but wasn't encouraged to step onto his own, or didn't have the tenacity. Like, he's the roiled brat, like spoiled brat, where Bulma's like the rich, semi-spoiled, but more like the rich drive. Like, it's the difference between like somebody that's like has a lot of money and they either just give it to their kid or they make their kid work for it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like trust fund baby versus unfortunately being one of Gordon Ramsay's kids. Like, you will work for everything, but you will earn everything. You will be so successful, but it sucks in the meantime because I'm not giving you anything for free like other parents do. There's no spoiling going on in this.
Exactly. I mean, something I think about is like Aubrey Marcus. Like, I like him and I like his podcast, and I look up to him in some ways, but like his dad was rich, and his dad was like part of like the early investors and so forth, like back before stuff went on computers and whatnot, But his dad didn't give him money to start on it. Like, Aubrey had to go work for himself, and like he let Aubrey work in his company. But then like other ways, like his stepdad also let him work in his company. So like that's like, yeah, like you could work at a job, but it's like only thing he points out all the time. The only thing his dad ever paid for was like they'll pay for him to go to college, and then he's like, and I don't use my degree. Like,
My degree was for him, not for me.
Yeah. Well, but also not like he got a degree in like what he wanted. I think he got a degree in philosophy or something like that too, or literature or something like that because he's a poet. But anyways, point being is like, but when he starts on it and it becomes his own thing, like he had to build it from the ground up. But it is that concept of like the idea of like, okay, I've seen my dad have money. I've seen how he works with the money. I've seen how he makes more with it. And then took that knowledge and goes, okay, so I'm going to do it. That's kind of what Bulma is.
Yes.
Is Bulma goes, okay, I saw how being a great inventor could create these amazing things. I'm also going to create whatever I want. And she does. And like Capsule Corp becomes even better because of her, and like more things, and has more divisions and so forth. Because I'm going to create things because I want to create things, because I saw how to do it. So it's kind of that ripple effect down. We don't know Pilaf's background, and we probably never will, but we can tell that like spoiled kid. And then having done, I don't know how many thousands of hours of coaching I've done by now, like with different clients, like I've had spoiled people. And I'm not like trying to put them down, I'm not trying to like make fun of any client, but I've had people that came from that background where mom and dad paid for everything. And then the fact that actually like mom and dad or your trust fund is paying for your session with me. And no wonder you're not doing the homework. No wonder you don't like the hard questions. No wonder like we have great sessions, but then you show up next session and it's like nothing changed. You didn't do anything because you're not putting any skin in the game.
Exactly.
And then I've had rich people, maybe I shouldn't say rich people, but people that like, they have their own job, and the money that had to come from the coaching client session came from themselves. Even whether they had money themselves, like whether they're like, yeah, I make 10 grand a month, and so yeah, I can afford a couple $100 for a coaching session. Or someone that was like, yeah, I like, this is significant for me. Like, this is 20% of my paycheck to come to these sessions for you. Those people, opposite ends of the spectrum on like money wise, but because it's theirs and it's their desire and it came from themselves, they do the homework. They get the shifts and transformations. They're the people I coach myself out of. When I say coach myself out of, it's 6 months to a year in, they go, I think I'm good now. Like, your program worked. I feel really great. And it's sad to see them go, but that's the purpose. But they don't get that unless they show it for themselves. And so I'm saying that with like the Dragon Balls. You see here with all the Dragon Balls and the way it works out, Goku, Bulma, Yamcha, even Oolong are true to who they are and what they want and go for it. Pilaf doesn't really know what he wants.
Even when he's sitting in front of the dragon, he can't. He wastes his time sitting there going, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. It's my first time. oh yeah, I want world domination, but he doesn't want world domination. Like, he doesn't know why he wants
Even
world
the words
domination.
it weird. He starts out with I want supremacy, pause, and then goes, wait a second, and domination over the whole world. So it's like he almost dropped 2 wishes because he wasn't even sure of that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, his why isn't strong enough to be clear in the moment when you face the dragon, when you face the fears, when you face the big great thing. You know, like I've had in my own life, like, you know, in sweat lodges even, of like, you know, being in a sweat lodge and like, okay, I'm having a mystical experience in a sweat lodge. Holy crap, here is this divine being in front of me. And okay, what did you want to work on? What was your intention? Because I had an intention that was clear, it's immediately, oh yeah, this is what I'm struggling with, and I'm really frustrated about the way the world works. And, you know, I'm looking up because it's like, you know, glowing and whatever in front of me, but it's that idea of like, oh, what did you come here to work with? What is your question? What, you know, it's immediately clear, because if your intentions are clear, if your why is clear, and even the idea of like, if I am not prepared, my why of wanting to create a more beautiful world is so clear that if you're like, why are you doing what you're doing? Even if it's not directly attached to creating a more beautiful world, that's what's going to come out of my mouth. Because my why is so strong on that if you're like, why are you washing the dishes? Because I want to create a more beautiful world. Washing the dishes has nothing to do with creating a more beautiful world. Except for it makes the dishes clean and makes me feel better, and that can ripple out.
It starts there.
It starts there. But it's, yeah, if the giant dragon shows up and goes, what do you want? A more beautiful world. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me like rephrase how that looks. I might need to do that for a second.
Sassy response is like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like the dragon's being like, what? You want a bunch of flowers all over the world or what? Like, yeah, like I'm gonna have to clarify for the dragon, but it's that beans, but Pulos isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Even Oolong, who wishes for panties, the first wish. So we get the first dragon. The first dragon ever shows up. This whole 17, 18 episode long journey of like building up anticipation to get the Dragon Balls. You get a dragon, and the big wish. First guy to try to make the wish flops it because he isn't clear of his why. The second guy says the first thing that pops into his mind. Oolong's so authentic, so clear, trying to resist perviness, but first thing that pops into his mind, comfy panties.
And it's interesting too, because like having like, I was waiting for that moment because I remember it happened, but I couldn't remember exactly how. So I was waiting. When it finally happened, I was walking back in front of the room. No, I missed it. So I went back, and I watched it sitting there like, okay. And the way he was everything, I'm like, oh my gosh. Leading up to that part in that episode, Bulma is just hitting him constantly with the piggy. And so at first he's complaining my butt hurts. Or no, my stomach hurts. And then he starts complaining his butt hurts. In that episode with the wish, he complains that, man, it hurts so much, even my briefs don't feel good anymore. These briefs they're not comfortable anymore. Which if you've ever had any kind of issues down there, it's because he even says everything's chafing now. As he's running up to throw down his wish, he's like, oh, these boxers chafe. Yeah. And so it's so authentic, but also so natural, carnal, even the fact that it's like, I just want to be comfortable while I sit, while I walk, just comfortable on my butt.
Yeah.
Gets up there, makes the wish of, I want to be comfortable on my butt. But then you even see the smirk on his face, that last moment of panties. Pops in and he says it in a way that the dragon goes, I know what you're really after. Pop panties. And they land on his head and he goes, oh yeah. Because even he goes, well, I'm not going to wear those. But still, that part of me goes, oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, like he wants the comfort. So he says, I want a pair of the world's most comfiest. And he could have said briefs, but instead he says panties. So that's where like the full authenticness of Oolong comes in. Of this is what I want, but here's that tiny pig-like nature of being pervy. Here's this. Yeah, he does, like, it's uncomfortable. But also, like, she's hitting with the piggy, so he's like trying to hold back having to go to the bathroom. But then he's also been scared this whole time, running around sweating. Like, he's been chased by a giant. Like, when they're in Pilaf's castle, they escape the room and they get chased back to the room by a giant ball. So he's running and sweating. Then he turns into a bat and he's flying, which I think is hilarious. They actually like show the bat like naked when he changes, and then when he changes back to his clothes.
Yes.
Which the reason I'm pointing that out is because, like, if you've ever like sweated and worked out, and like you get sweaty and your clothes get a little damp, you take them off and then you touch them like 30 seconds later, and you're like, holy crap, I have this wet of a shirt on. You didn't realize how wet it was until you took it off and then touched it again. Oolong poofs into a bat, loses his clothes, poofs back into his clothes. I think he was that much wetter. I think it was that same concept of like kind of semi-dried off because he's flying around like a bat and then comes back into wet clothes. Like, I know I'm overanalyzing this point, but the reason I'm overanalyzing is I want to point out that like you said, like in the full crudeness, the only thing he wants is comfy pants. Because also Oolong, you know, even when he's trying to convince Bulma to pick a different wish, he doesn't have a wish for her. He just wants her to pick anything but find a boyfriend. Something that he feels like he could help her do. He almost feels like I could be your boyfriend. I could teach you to find a boyfriend. Like he's almost like I could mentor you to find a boyfriend. Please pick a different wish. Even if that wish is give me the skills to be a mentor. To like, but he doesn't have it. He doesn't have a why. So even a lack of why still comes to the first carnal nature. And because he knows who he is, and he is fully authentic, he knows he's a scaredy cat, he knows he gives up, he knows he runs, but he also knows that he likes his friends. He knows who he is, wish gets happened. Pilaf doesn't know who he is. Pilaf is unsure of who he is. His only support really is these two people he treats like shit that are only with him because they're in a toxic, codependent relationship. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so looking at just Oolong, shape-shifting pig. That's just great. Then you have Poir too, which is the shape-shifting cat. And cats in the Japanese and in the Chinese mythology already go back as being magical, being tricksters, being shapeshifters.
Yeah.
And so, and you look at how Poir shapeshifts, it's never a perfect shapeshift. There's always like the tail or the ears or the whiskers. There's always something
the eyes or something.
The eyes, yeah. Something there is off, which goes to show not only is it imperfect trickster, because cats typically are, you can always kind of tell according to the mythology, but also Poir, as opposed to Oolong, is the innocent, childlike version of the same capabilities. We're still a trickster, still driven by those innate desires, but it's the child version instead of the mature carnal version.
Yes. And interesting enough, Oolong's transformations are never imperfect. They're actually very precise, very perfect. You might have his face on it. That seems to be a thing you can't really get away with a little bit. But in general, they're always kind of perfect. Even when his face isn't on it, sometimes it's not on there. They're real convincing. You can only hold it for 5 minutes. You didn't finish training, but the cat did. And can't hold it for longer than 5 minutes. Can hold it quote unquote maybe even indefinitely, but it's slightly imperfect. It's that slightly childlike. I understand how to do it enough that I can do it, but not quite that interesting. And again, like, just because I find this interesting, because he's with Yamcha. And Yamcha gets the rap a lot of times of being like the most useless character, like the most like, you got Yamcha. It happens, and Yamcha is down there, but even like, the cat isn't the most useless character either. He turns into scissors and cuts off the tail the first time we see the ape. That's kind of what I want to go with, the next thing. So we have. We haven't talked about the first Kamehameha, but we'll circle back to that a little bit. Just but we're here with Oolong and Pilaf and the Wish being, not knowing who you are. We get the first dragon, happens, but then shortly after, the very next episode, we get the first ape transformation. We get Goku transforms into the ape, breaking out of the palace, which actually saves their life. Because they're trapped in this building that when the sun rises, they're going to get cooked alive. And because he turns into the monkey and breaks free, it happens and it's there. And we don't have power levels at this point. But one thing I'm just kind of kept track of, that's my own personal thing. When we do finally get power levels, Goku is at a certain level. So Raditz is at Raditz quotes him at 360 something, and Piccolo's at 340 something, and that's way years later. And so probably, and one thing that Toriyama says in one of his interviews about power levels is that the power level 1 is the average human man. So the average healthy 6 foot tall. And I think he even says the average American man, which when he says this is in the 80s. It's in the 80s, that's when Dragon Ball Z was wrapping up. So he says this is in the 80s. So that's also meaning that the average man is, healthier. I said, you look at pictures of the 80s of the beach, and you look at pictures of the beach now, America is more obese. 80s man, that's MacGyver.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever watch MacGyver, like, doesn't quite have the six pack, but like is in shape. That's also the Chuck
there's
Norris
a structure there.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
very obvious.
Yeah, it's a very square. Yeah. So, sorry. So you're saying that's power level 1. So the average man is power level 1. So going by that ratio, Roshi's probably power level 5 or 6. And like when Roshi gets his power level taken later by Bulma, which is way later after he's done some training, he's like power level 100 and something. So probably like when Goku's fighting him and so forth, whatever. So I won't point this out because the Azu phase, and when they turn into an ape, is 100 times multiplier. I think maybe it's a 10 times. No, it's a 10 times, but the 10 times because Super Saiyan's 100. So it's a 10 times multiplier. So like if he's already at like level, maybe 20 at this point, or 10 or 20, now he's at 200, enough to break and destroy buildings. No one else is on his level. Only thing to stop him is cut off the tail. Yamcha and the cat are able to do that.
So that explains why later on, when he's stronger, and you go and like or Gohan, who is stronger, goes, they're beaming away mountains.
Yeah.
Instead of just punching over castles, like because the kid is now much stronger than Goku was when he did it, so the scale multiplier is even different.
Yeah, scale multiplier is different. So like when Gohan goes, he's actually as strong as Vegeta is.
And that's why Piccolo can't handle it. He has to blow up the moon. He's like, nope.
No, he can't handle it because he's that much strong. Because like he recognizes that when Gohan, like he takes Gohan off to go train, Kid Gohan, that he realizes like his potential is great. He's realizing that like this kid can be stronger than me and will be stronger than me at some point. And so like, but also from Piccolo's standpoint, like we're jumping into Dragon Ball Z here, but from Piccolo's standpoint, he was on his own from birth. So being raised in the wilderness and learning how to survive at 2 or 3, Gohan's 4, he should be able to figure this out. Piccolo did. like we think Piccolo is like this cruel, abusive dude, but it's like no, like Piccolo grew up on his own.
He's just by 4, his experience.
Yeah, by 4 years old, he was like shooting energy waves. Like,
so when he throws Gohan at the mountain, it expects him to blow up the mountain. He's like, that's easy. What are you doing, kid?
Yeah, well,
it's almost like your mom raised you with books instead of punches.
It's like you had a pillow to sleep on at night or something. But like he knows his instinct's gonna kick in. He knows he'll save himself, but he didn't know how well he would save himself. He's like, oh, that kid just, and so that concept is there. But yeah, so that's why he's on the same level as Vegeta when he goes that, because his level's here times 10. So Goku goes times 10, and I just said that's the first time we see Goku. Like we already know Goku's strong, but we see him boost to this now unnatural level. Because like for the whole time he's just barely above Yamcha. Like it's like his skill is at the point where it's like Yamcha could take it. Like if Goku's tired, he can take Goku. So if Yamcha just trained for a year, of course he should be able to take Goku. That's kind of the mentality that Yamcha has. And so we get the first dragon phase, then we get the tail cut off, and that's kind of the end of season 1. They go their separate ways. But like what I find hilarious is the number 1 goal that Bulma wanted. Her goal for the Dragon Balls, which they accomplish. They get all the Dragon Balls. The Dragon Ball is manifested. A wish is made, and technically, both Yamcha and Bulma get their wish fulfilled by not the dragon, but by going on the Dragon Ball quest. The quest for the Dragon Balls. He gives them the wish they want. They manifest their life they want by going on the quest.
Yes.
So oftentimes the goal we're aiming for is important, but the journey along the way actually gives us what we want. Actually gives us what we, I'll use myself as an example here again, like, I'm talking about the business earlier and so forth, but it's like when I look at my life, I've manifested what I wanted. In my 20s, I wanted a life where I could do what I wanted to do on a daily basis, have enough for my bills, and not be concerned about next month's bills or the food in the fridge. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, I can't do nothing. Like, I don't have so much money that I'm like, I could just fuck off for the next 5 years and be fine. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm not worried about bills, and I get to do what I want to do on a daily basis. When I was 20, that's what I wanted in my life. And I was aiming to manifest being an entrepreneur so I could do what I wanted every day and not have to worry about bills. Now, granted, in my vision, that meant making multiple hundred thousands a year. That meant, oh, I'll have to probably make like $1 million a year to be that. I don't make $1 million a year. I'm still on the journey to make $1 million a year, but guess what? I found my wish got granted on the journey to building a beautiful entrepreneur business. Still going on the journey, still going up the mountain. So it's not about getting to the top of the mountain, it's about the climb, which I know like we hear this in all these different teachings, but sometimes when we actually see it play out, like in anime, everybody gets their wish granted by going on the journey. Except for people that didn't have a wish, like Pilaf. He didn't really have a wish. He didn't really have a why. He didn't really have a goal. So it's there. So you know that wraps up with he has a girlfriend, she has a boyfriend, he's no longer shy of girls. Like he's not shy of Bulma, but also if you notice, he's never shy of girls again.
Exactly.
Like he needs lunch, not shy of lunch.
That fear.
Yeah. Like and also by, you know, quote unquote anime standards, Bulma is depicted as to be one of the most prettiest girls in all of anime. And like in this cartoon version, you know, she's meant to be like essentially, you know, she is the Jessica Alba, the whatever, you know, top level.
The very next super pretty girl they show in that show in Dragon Ball Z is just a clone of her with long hair.
Yeah, it's just
like she is the standard.
Yeah, she is the standard. She is the standard, you know, and has the, you know, and so in that concept, he gains all the confidence he needs by going on the journey for the star, but then also going on the journey of having his first real girlfriend. He gains all the confidence he needs, you know. And same thing with like the tournament and everything they go through. You gain, so just the spiritual lesson I see of it, it's like by doing the thing, you gain the confidence you need. So if there's something out there that you're not sure you can do, like we use business examples, we're talking about business earlier, or playing a song, or playing the music, or anything like that, you're not good at it until you do it a few times. Like the very first times I tried to sell anything to anyone, like it didn't go over so well. And like, yes, they signed up, and I made the sale, but looking back at it, it was so awkward, so choppy. And the only reason they really agreed into it is because the offer was great. And that wasn't even like my offer. That was me selling a retreat for other people. So because the retreat, this 4-day retreat sounded so great, I could botch being a crappy salesperson, and the offer was so good. So the offer stood. But it wasn't until like my 50th sales call before I was like able to do it without being like, okay, here we go. All right, we're selling. It matters. Okay, here we go. Like until it was like, all right, yeah, so hello, and it just became conversation. It wasn't until the 50th time of that. Same as like when you work out. That first month, you're sore a lot for that first month. You haven't been working out for a while. And then you're back into it. And it's so it seems like with business, with music, with anything you want to do in life, and not just you, but like anyone who's listening and everything, you're gonna suck when you first do it. And you know why you suck? Because you haven't done it before. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because there's nothing wrong with you. You're actually a perfectly, amazingly, fully capable being. Pilaf can be just as strong as Goku. He just didn't choose that in his life, and didn't have the right, you know, whys and so forth. And so like, there's nothing wrong with anyone. It's like the only reason we suck at anything in life is because we haven't done it enough. Everything is learnable. Everything is accomplishable. And again, just to quote Alex Moses, I think it's a great quote, and it's like, it's a little bit of a kick in the heart for me as like a Capricorn. I'm like, my chart is half Capricorn. Like out of the 10 planets, 5 of them are Capricorn. Okay, like I'm very Capricorn, so like materialism doesn't mean stuff to me like, oh, it's so pretty and shiny, but I think it's a good like representation. Like money is energy credits, you know, and it's knowledge. And so like I just use that example, like so the Capricorn is kind of like a kick to the heart a little bit, but it says the thing that is keeping you from making $1 million a year is the know-how. So if you make $100,000 a year, it's costing you $900,000 a year to not make $1 million. And that 900,000 is your incompetence. Is the incompetence fee. So he calls it your suck fee. Isn't your suck fee? It's your incompetence fee. You only suck at something because you're incompetent. And you can learn anything. So it sounds like a kick, like it's kicking you a little bit in the teeth, but it's actually a motivation. It's like, no, you suck because you don't know how to, and you can learn anything. oh, okay, I can learn anything. So of course I suck, but I can learn anything.
Yeah.
So if you can learn anything, you can be anything. Like
That's true.
it's actually this full power. And so it's like but it's that bracing. And this is what people think. Like, so like people think business. Oh, you have your own business. You should have all this money coming in now. Oh, you have an LLC now. Oh, you should have thousands of dollars. And it's like, yeah. Oh, you have clients. It's like, yeah. You just forget that there's overhead and there's all these other aspects that come into it. And like people that you do know that make $1 million a year, they probably run $5 million companies. It's making $5 million, and the CEO is making $1 million because it takes the other $4 million to run the business and pay the employees.
Yeah. I challenge anybody who has the gumption to criticize another person for not making so much money with their business. I challenge you to go and find out how much it costs to make a business. Don't even do anything with it. Just make it and let that sit and see how expensive and how much time and effort that took.
Yeah.
And then one fiscal year later, see how much that cost you.
Yes.
It's not fun. It's not easy until you're already rolling in it. But how many years does it take there? And we're not all lucky and have it handed to us. We're all lucky where we just happen to like hit the proverbial lottery by getting. I've literally been in jobs where this dude, he happens to walk into this one building to sell insurance, and that building, they happen to be holding an event where there's 30 people, they're all looking to buy, and the guy just made his $100,000 ticket or whatever with his perpetual every month pays him this much, and the rest of us are like, when did you graduate high school? He's like, the last month.
Yeah.
How long have you been working this company? About 20 days. What? And then those have been there for years and have maybe made a little bit. And it's just, well, some of it is luck. Some of it is just you had the talent innately already, and so you had an edge. But most of it is that effort. That the guy who trained him, who was training me, was 30 years in and was now hitting $50,000 a year because he was not taking it seriously until he finally hit his big contract a couple of months ago. Now he's taking it seriously. Now he's full time. But he realizes I lost the other 25 years playing with it instead of doing it seriously because I wasn't even confident that this was going to be it.
Yeah.
So he limited himself.
It's that thing. It's like when you're dabbling versus being in. That's the thing. Like sometimes you have people. Like so, two aspects of that. Of like I want to say, it's like you think of business like it takes time to compound the business, and like to make money and to grow. And like you can start businesses for cheap. Like there's different things to like go in there. It's just like, but it's be aware there's going to be an overhead. It takes some time to invest in, and it takes money to invest in. And usually in the beginning, you're investing more time than you are money, and then you're still investing money until it eventually returns, until the return on your investment happens. Like there's a time that happens, but it's worth it and it compounds. That's why it's worth it to do something. It's fun to do and get fuel for the mission. I won't go down all the different business routes because like there's a lot I could say on like the how to make it work and so forth. But anyone like I said, like anyone that's Christian and someone not making enough money, it's like we'll go try to do the same thing. Or it's like, and I use it as an example, just like, you make a YouTube video and someone like makes a rude comment on there. It's like, okay, Bob 5782, like, all right, whatever. Like the first money I made on YouTube, not on YouTube, like, well, I guess it was from YouTube, it was a client that came to YouTube, but it was like they signed up for like a one-time, one thing. It was like $60 or whatever. And it's like, yeah, great. That's not going to pay my mortgage. That's not going to really pay groceries. I guess that could pay for like half the groceries from, I don't know. But like $60 is something, but it's not like, okay, I'm retiring. Like, guess what? I'm quitting my job and I'm going, but guess what? That's $60 more than Bob 52 or whatever that hated my video made. The same video he probably made that comment about, like, you should just quit. Like, I literally, there's a comment out on one video that someone goes, you won't, but you should just stop what you're doing. Like, and I'm like, ouch. All right. And that was probably a comment on, and I think I think it had like some Christian comment in there too, like right before that, like somebody else said something about I needed to come to Jesus, and I was like, many blessings to you. And then the next comment down there is like, but it's on a video where I'm talking about, I think Hinduism or it's Buddhism, one of the two. Point being is it's like, who cares if they said that? Like that same video probably brought me a client, the reason I'm bringing all this up into like what you're talking about, like the compounding, it's like it takes time, and like there is going to be the haters out there, and like as the hater energy comes and so forth, it's because they're seeing you do a thing that they were scared they themselves couldn't do, and so like it does build and it takes time, And part of that, I'm not going to all the business ways like to grow a business, but it's like whatever you want to do, yeah, you might suck at it, but it takes time, just like the business. It takes time to put that energy into it, to build it. And the more you do it, the more the reps are in, the better you get at it, the smoother you get. And like that guy that made, walking the right people and had all that, you could say, okay, he's only been on the job for 20 days. But what's his life experience? I guarantee you he's probably super popular in high school. Probably had a lot of friends. He's probably one of those few people that came out of high school with like 1,000 Snap connections and was like one of those people that actually has to go through Facebook and delete friends because they've hit the maximum friend capacity. Like
extremely social,
like just could talk to people. So like that's a skill that he's gained over high school. Sometimes we forget, it's like just because you weren't an adult, it's like when you gain skills. Like both me and you, like we worked out in high school. Like we know how to lift weights. That's not a skill we gained as an adult. We've perfected it as an adult, but it's a skill we gained as a kid, as a teenager. So same thing, those social skills and whatnot, and it's one of those things too that like I realized in like the selling days and like business and so forth, like that. I still make sales and so forth. When I was selling for someone else, the people that were best at it were people that were great in social experiences. But that's not a skill you have. Or using like the YouTube as an example for a minute. Sometimes I'll find a channel that's like only been out for like 3 months, and it's already like has 500,000 subscribers, and they're already monetized, and every video is getting like 20 to 50,000 people to view it. I can guarantee you that's not their first channel.
Yeah, it's probably their seventh.
Their seventh or eighth. Like they've been working at they've been working at owning their voice and what works in the algorithm and what things do work and things that people do want to see. And like that's the thing is like you can create whatever you want in the world, but if you really want to be successful in the entrepreneurial world or even just in a creation standpoint, and successful in the way where it actually like isn't a hobby, it actually makes money, you solve a problem. What problem do you solve? Is the best question, and then you have a service. And it's like, I create a more beautiful world. But also what problem I solve is like, if you're not happy in your life, like if you're okay in life, let's get you to great. Like that's what I solve. Like so by healing mental and emotional health, I improve life through psychology and shamanism. Like those are some of the ways that I make it. That's the problem I solve with like all my businesses is create a more beautiful world or improving your life in some way, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And so I say it as an example, but it's like then it gets me excited. And so same as like someone that might be like a musician that likes to play songs, like you can turn that into a career. It can also be a hobby, but like what's the why behind it? That's the drive. So like the biggest thing I learned from rewatching season 1 of Dragon Ball, like the peel off arc, was your desire will take you wherever you want if your why is strong enough and you're true to yourself. You're authentic to yourself. Just like in business, the people I've seen that haven't done super great in business are usually those that aren't authentic to themselves. That they don't really know why they're doing what they're doing or what they really want. And so they're dabbling around for 30 years. The final thing I'll say about that, I think is a really cool quote. It's from Conversation with God, but it's this point where this guy, he's having this conversation with God, and he's like, but I've been on the spiritual path for 10 years. And God comes back and goes, no, you've been dabbling for 10 years. You've been fully committed for, well, how long have we been having this conversation? Pretty much point out, you've only been fully committed since this epiphany, since this awakening, when your heart goes, I'm fully into walking the spiritual path. That's how long you've actually been committed, not the 10 years of dabbling. Mm-hmm. So it's that a little bit too, when you look at your life, how long have you actually been at something? How long have you been dabbling at it? And that's a little kick from my own soul, because like right away, I'm aware of things, and I'm like, oh, I thought I was doing that, but I was dabbling in that. I was a dabbler. I wasn't a doer.
That's like Yamcha right there when he's introduced. Yeah, he's a fighter, but he's not a martial artist. It's really just a means to him accomplishing banditry and accomplishing survival. But then Goku comes on and repeats smashes with him, and then others. He goes, oh, no. Martial arts is a thing. If I focus and hone that, I can accomplish other greater things. I mean, even going all the way back to Dragon Ball, when he tries baseball, he's the ridiculously overpowered, way over the top baseball player because he trained ridiculously with Goku and the rest of
Yes.
them.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the whole point, is it's like there's this skill there. It's like what you put in it. Are you dabbling or doing? When you're a doer, look at what happens. When you dabble, you get dabbling results. Awesome. I think that's pretty much where I'm at. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Dragon Ball and so forth? I mean,
one thing I wanted to mention about the villains that they go through a verse, you have, it follows the Chinese Zodiac at first, just in a row. You get a tiger villain, a rabbit villain. Oolong is the pig villain. Technically, Puar is a cat villain, so you're still going along the major and minor Zodiac. And then after the dog, you get finally a monkey villain, which is the Ozaru, its transformation itself as the grand pinnacle. It makes sense to me because you have the dragon, which it doesn't show up as an opposing force in the form of a dragon. You get a lizard instead, which is the pterodactyl that kidnaps Bulma.
yeah.
So you do get a lizard, and what does the lizard do? It talks to Goku, it deceives him, takes her anyway, and then Goku goes, oh wait, he's a liar. I gotta go fight him. And so it even shows the reptilian, I will deceive you with a smile with teeth and everything to get what I want, taking advantage after acknowledging you're just an innocent kid, so I can take advantage of you.
Yes.
And every one of these villains, he faces not only that animal, but an element of the animal's archetype from the old mythology too. And so the tiger is all in armor, huge sword, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm ferocious. The rabbit is, I'm fast, I'm conniving, I have other people working for me. And then when he whacks the rabbit, it's all he does is whack it once. He doesn't even like defeat him. He just whops him, and the rabbit goes, okay, I don't want to get whopped again. Take whatever you want. And then runs. Like, that's all he needs is a tap. Where the tiger, he's got to wallop that thing. Same with the flying pterodactyl. He's got to wallop the hell out of it.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's gonna wallop them, and it's there. And like you could still say the dragon, Shenron represents the actual dragon. Like, you mean as an opposing force, but in that same sense that like the dragon archetype actually is in Chinese mythology, but also like in most dragon archetypes, like. It's not until medievals that they get viewed as like villains, but in general, it's like they're neutral. They might be chaotic, even chaotic good. Like they do destroy, but it's generally it's like they're eating for their own survival. They're not killing for no reason. There's usually like, oh, you attacked me, now I'm revengeful, or I'm eating your whole village. That's why I'm killing you. Like. In most dragon mythology, they don't just burn a city and then for no reason. It's the same thing. Like the dragon, he's the wishing dragon. The orbs are gathered. He comes up. No matter what your wish is, I will grant it. Like
it's a cosmic force that is also a mechanism of the reality that the characters are all participating in.
Yeah. Exactly. And so like there's not this aspect of like, oh, I'm good, I'm bad, or anything like that. It's neutral. It's like the dragon aspect is still there of like, I am this higher being that can see all things, but I'll give you what you desire. Same kind of thing like other dragon archetypes, like they see all things, they're aware of all things, they might be ferocious, but at the same time there's a wisdom there of like, I see what's happening. And they might make decisions that seem cruel to humans because they don't have the same perspective, the higher perspective they might see. The same concept as like a kid to an adult. A year is a long time for a 4-year-old. Oh, yeah. Because they've only had 4 of them. Like a year is not a long time for a 35-year-old. You've had 35 of them.
It's just going faster and faster.
It's going faster and faster. It's like it's still valuable. But it's that concept of like, oh, we'll do that next year. Like, okay, like that will probably go by decently fast. A year's still a long time. You tell a kid, oh, that'll happen next year. That's a quarter of their life.
Yeah.
Like if you told me, oh, that'll happen in a quarter of your life from now, like it's going to be so far, I'm not even worried about it. Like you told me like I had only a quarter of my life left to live, I'm going to change my life a little bit. But there's a part of me that's like, oh, well, that's X amount of years away. It's a while out. It's a while out.
So I think it's moving through the Zodiac.
Symbols,
I believe not only the reason for him doing that was that he's trying to teach certain lessons in that pattern. Because when you go, especially since it's a martial arts anime, and it's rooted in Japanese and Chinese martial arts, which over history have greatly influenced each other. he establishes this idea that, especially the Chinese, the Zodiac forms, how they have tiger, dragon, all the different fighting styles, they do teach you those fighting styles in the Shaolin in a pattern, in a set path. And then every so many years, so many months, certain animal styles have a great test that only happens astrologically with that animal's astrological calendar. And only then are you allowed to take, for example, the tiger test and get your tiger patch in your recognition for mastering tiger. And same with dragons, and all of them, they have that time lock.
Okay.
So when he's going through the story, he's reaching those villains and learning specific lessons with those animal villains. It actually does conform to that system Chinese philosophy, martial arts philosophy, and thought. Moving all the way down to he meets the dragon Shenron, but in the same time, you get the Uzaru, which is the monkey. Now, the reason why I believe that is set up that way is because the dragon is the top of the whole Zodiac. It is the god dragon, the god form of the whole Zodiac. The only other divine beast in the Zodiac is the phoenix, but we haven't seen that yet, so it's just the dragon. The next one, the next most important beast in the Zodiac outside of dragon is technically a monkey, because it interacts with all of them, both as a trickster, but also as a helper. It can make tools, it can affect things in a way that can either help or harm everyone else. So we get the Ozaru, which is a giant, overpowered, out of control monkey that vexes everyone, the villains and the heroes. Then it goes away, leaving only just destruction, like it reset the equation. And then from that point on, all the villains are humans or facsimiles of humans, androids.
Yeah.
And I think that is because once we've moved through the Zodiac, we've dealt with the baser issues that the natural world presents the heroes on their journey. But now that we've got the pinnacle of it, which is a test against your own self, can you make a wish?
Yeah.
We get past that. Now it's your behemoth. The Uzaru represents that legendary behemoth, the great guardian of the threshold. That is just this great beast that you can never beat physically. You have to overcome it with your willpower and your wisdom, which we find out later. It's the only way to control the Uzaru is you've got to somehow retain your clear mind and your sense of self while in that form. Otherwise, there's no hope. And that is exactly true when you go into the Gnosticism, when you go into the esoteric Japanese, Chinese, you go into the martial arts, they're always talking about that inner beast, that inner demon, that darker yang side of you that will test you constantly, even when you're at your best, doing your best. It's there to tempt you with going too far, going too vicious, not pulling that last punch, doing the Mortal Kombat finish him move, all that stuff. It's always there. And Goku is actively in every battle showing you he might be a kid, he might be immature, he might be innocent and naive, but he's already there with, do I have to really beat you? Do I have to really kill you? Or can I just whack you and the lesson has been taught?
Yeah. He's in that state of like, and in that innocence of like whatever the current goal is. Like, it's not like when he teaches the rabbit a lesson, whacks him on his head. Like he's not fully aiming to make a life-changing thing for the rabbit, but he does go, do you promise to stop being bad? Like he says that a lot. Do you promise to stop? So he does not like want a life-changing thing to happen out of it. Which I almost wonder a little bit that has to do with like the whopping on the head, like how much life that might have been from Gohan. Like, I mean, Goku falls on his head and becomes a better person, so like there might be a little bit of that in there too, of like, oh, you get smacked really hard and your personality changes. Like that might just be like a whole thing from Goku from all the way up, and then it gets reinforced.
I mean, he does say that to his friends. He says, yeah, I apparently was bad, hit my head, and then Grandpa Goku says I was great. So he was already told this about himself.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. It does make sense that he would immediately apply that lesson to the world. If you're bad, you just got to get whacked in the head hard enough and you'll be good.
Well, and then when he comes, he's not like a baby. Like, I mean, he's a baby, but he's a toddler. Like he's a 3-year-old. Like he's 3 years old when he first lands on Earth. So it's like he has a little bit of memory there. I mean, I don't have a lot of memories from when I was a kid, but I still have a few. I mean, I'm not like toddler. I don't have a lot of memories from like 4 and younger. I have a few, but I know when I was 11, I probably had a lot more. Like so Goku's 11 probably has a lot more of those memories in there. Did you get hit on the head as a kid? Actually, yeah. Why does that have anything to do with it? As you're, it shows up. But also Goku's logic gets reinforced. I smack him really hard, something changes. So like, yes, he like smacks stuff and like defends his friends, but like he smacks the rabbit and the rabbit stops doing what he's doing. He smacks Oolong becomes his friend. He beats up Yamcha becomes his friend. the whole course of a lot of Goku's friends are someone he beat up and then
Even
becomes
Piccolo.
his friends.
Punch
Even
him hard
Piccolo.
enough.
Even Tien.
He joins us.
Yeah. Like, and it goes through the whole cycle. And then, he kills Piccolo's dad, Piccolo, but then at the same time, Piccolo Jr. smacks hard enough, eventually becomes his friend. They might have to get smacked around a lot more, and then someone bigger has to show up, and but it's that same concept. But that logic fails, and then you see that he becomes friends with a lot of people he fights with, and even you see this fast forward a little bit to Dragon Ball Super. Even when they go to another universe, everyone Goku fights, their personality changes.
Yes.
The only person that doesn't, it's not like his personality didn't change it, but Frost, who is like the Frieza version over there, his personality doesn't change, but his potential does. Mm-hmm. He finds out about a fourth form. He realizes that he can get more powerful. So there's always this thing that Goku essentially, you get a shift by getting smacked by Goku. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that plays into full spirituality in any way, other than I have definitely been metaphorically slapped by a 2x4 by the universe a lot. There's definitely been times when metaphorically a 2x4 is just slow motion just been fully goof, goof, goof by the universe. That's definitely happened. And then I've had a shift after that. So that might be a metaphor into that of because Dragon Ball is very much a martial arts show, and it is a physicality that's going on, but all the hidden spirituality, concepts in there, the life lessons come from they're the physical version of the emotional realm. You can look at a lot of it in some ways, instead of them having a physical battle, you could take the physical battle as, maybe they're actually sitting down and having a conversation like this, but mentally, this is what's going on, or energetically, energy-wise, this is what's getting worked out. And I've definitely had those, maybe not in this conversation or in a peaceful conversation, but I've definitely had conflict with people where it's hey, we've got to figure this out and we've got to come to a resolution. And we don't go to fists. We don't go into the jiu-jitsu mat and roll around and kick the shit out of each other. But we have a talk, and it can get very intense, and it can get very loud, and then get quiet. And it does feel a little bit like mentally fighting. It feels like there's some mental martial arts going on. And then when it's all settled, both energies, for lack of better imagery, it's almost like both energies are now having a cup of tea together. And they're good fight, bro. Good fight. That was good. I'm glad we came to a resolution there. But it's and then it's lose, but it's that energy. So I said it with Goku, it's slap to get a shift. How many times, for those watching, even yourself, has life been that for you? Where it's hey, here's this hard moment, and that hard moment ends up being the worst, best thing for you. It's hard, but it ends up being one of the best things that ever happened.
It hurt, but it was good for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the Zenkai pose. That's the secret to the power of our main characters here, is the fact that they overcome this life-threatening thing. Sometimes something that beats them down, sometimes something that leaves them in complete despair. They overcome that. They end up stronger. They end up more sure of themselves. They end up being able to reach out and tap into something they didn't know they had from that point onward. And that adds to their foundation for the rest of their character arc.
Yes.
I believe humans are the same way. That is what the author Toriyama, he really encapsulated in that show as one of its prime virtues, is anyone can continue to expand, they can continue to magnify, they can continue to climb up that ladder as long as they motivate themselves and they believe that there is more to themselves.
Yes. There's more to themselves, they can climb the ladder. And that's the thing, believing there's more to themselves. I mean, the journey of finding the Dragon Balls gives Bulma and Yamcha their wish, but also they thought they needed a wish to have that. They thought that there's something more than themselves, but going on the journey, they get that more than themselves.
They thought it was an external thing they had to get, and they ended up creating it within themselves.
Yeah. And as Goku, he sees that there's someone stronger than him continuing. As long as Goku, throughout the entire Dragon Ball saga of all the series, as long as there's someone stronger than Goku, he aims to move to the next level. He always aims to improve himself to the next higher point, the next thing. And that's the thing is like, and you see this with a lot of the martial arts, like that's all what they're doing is aiming to become the next thing. And the only reason Roshi isn't anymore is because he's actually retired.
Mhm.
He's hit the point where he realizes passing on to the next generation is the new duty, is the next phase. And to tie this into like Native American cultures, it is that idea of like 7 generations forward, 7 generations past. Like you are responsible for the next generation, but you are the manifestation of the last 7 generations, and you are extremely responsible for the 7 generations from now. And the best way you can help the next 7 generations is by doing your own work. So it's like your own first like part of your life is improving yourself. The middle part of your life is like still improving yourself, but you're also like contributing to the community. And then the final phase of your life is, because learning never grows, you're still learning, but now you're giving. You're giving away.
The tree is now bearing its fruits and dropping them.
Yeah. It's kind of like you learn, you earn, you return. That's what it is. Yeah. So then that final phase, you're returning, but it's the percentage with it, and like this is just kind of like my own little percentage with it, but it's kind of like the first phase of your life, like on the return factor, you're only returning like maybe 10% to the world, but you're learning, like 90%. And then the middle phase of your life, it's much more 50-50. Like you're learning as much as you're giving out. It might be 60-40 sometimes, it might be 70-30, might go back and forth. That's generally it. And then that final stage where you're returning, it's more of like a 70-30 or an 80-20, where you're learning 30 to 20%, but you're returning 70 to 80%. Because you're still growing, and there's no way to stop growing, especially when you're returning. When you're giving and teaching or like growing something, you continue to grow too. Like you could spend, the next 40 years being nothing but a farmer and a gardener, and you will become a very extremely good one, even 40 years of harvest down the road.
I look at old man Roshi, and yes, he's retired, and he's even though he might technically be keeping up his training, so he can still perform his Kamehameha, he can still do things if he is ever called to, but he's not out there rah 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 like training the way Goku or the way Piccolo would, until he sees his own proteges start to just exceed everything he thought was possible. Then he goes, maybe I could still keep going. And then he starts going again. He even mentions eventually in Super that you guys inspired me to start training again. And that's why I'm even here with you now in this tournament arc, is because you inspired me that I wasn't done yet. And I thought I was.
Yeah. And like that, it's like, which is interesting because that means at some point they inspired him and he trains, and he's been training in secret this whole time. So it's like at some point, either in the end of Dragon Ball or sometime in Dragon Ball Z, Roshi gets the spark and trains for all these years, and then it's like he catches up essentially. And it's like, we don't see it, but that same thing, like tied back to like the business a little bit, where people are like, oh, you have a business. It's like the people that are like are great at it, it's like you're coming into their story at 10 years. When you look at Joe Rogan, he's 14-15 years in. I talk about Aubrey Marcus earlier, like he's 10 plus years in. Alex Hormozi is like 7 years, and actually Alex Hormozi is way more than like 7 years in with business, but he's like only maybe like 5 to 7 years of content creation in, and so it's like, when he's blowing up, and like when he showed up on my feed and already had 1 million followers on multiple platforms, that wasn't day one. Like that's day one I found him. That's like day one of like, when Bulma finds Goku is very different than when Tien meets Goku.
Yes.
Like, so saying this, like Roshi's off doing his thing, like he's working in the darkness. And so like Jordan Peterson says this, and so does a lot of other people say this about like improving in life. And so like kind of a thing from like Dragon Ball you can take as an example that happens too, is like some people are so afraid to just put in the work in silence. To just put in the work in silence versus telling everyone. It's like, when Jordan Peterson like says it, he says this is like some of you are afraid to just like disappear for a year. Some of you are afraid to just disappear for a week. And it's like, I'm not saying like anyone needs to like come off of social media and like go do that, but it's like, instead of telling everyone, oh, hey, I'm going to go accomplish this thing. We use a business example for, again, as a moment. Instead of telling everyone, hey, I'm going to go create the best burger that's ever existed, and I'm going to put McDonald's out of business, and I'm going to put all the burger chains out of business because mine's going to be healthy, affordable, and taste great. All the things that everyone's trying to do, but they can't get all three. I'm going to get all three. If you talk about that for 5 years and kind of work on it for 5 years, when you do it, great, you did it. But if you spent all the time that you spent talking about it and just doing it, it would actually get done.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like that 5 year analogy is like, oh, 5 years, yeah, it is healthy, it is tasteable, it does taste good, but hey, it's not cheap on McDonald's. But guess what? If you would have spent 5 years not talking about it and just doing it, then it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And just this is a metaphorical example out there, but it's like that's an energy. And you see this in the time skips with Dragon Ball. They go and train for 3 years. They go and train for 2 years. That's the montage. And some of us don't want to play the montage game in life. Like another really great example I learned was like even Goku, when doing the hermit style training, there's a routine.
Yes.
Before that, when he lives in the mountains doing his own thing, he's kind of training. And he even mentions to Bulma, I'm going to go train for a moment, but he's really just maintaining. He's bouncing around the trees, he's stretching, he's lifting a little bit. He's really just maintaining the strength he gained from Gohan, which is nothing wrong with maintaining where you're at, but never really grows until there's new opportunity, there's new things, new challenges. But at the same time, it's like that routine matters. And once you see the routine, like they show you what the routine is for one day, this is what their routine is for one day. And then it's like, and so for many months they continued on. And then it's like, oh, hey, look, we're stronger. Great, you get heavier shells. And then for many more months you carry on. But that's like one of the most important. A routine is meant, and you hear this in business or in entrepreneurship or successful. It's like, I shouldn't say just entrepreneurship. I use entrepreneurship as an example where I say business, but like entrepreneurship and business like is one of the greatest personal paths you can ever go down. Like if you want to grow as a person, being an entrepreneur is one of like the biggest personal points because you'll be faced with yourself consistently.
It requires it.
And example, you could be like Goku and just kind of meander through the day and like, oh, I've kind of got a schedule. I'll eat when I feel like eating. I'll work out when I feel like working out. I'll create when I feel like creating. You can have a discipline of no discipline, but that's not what Goku has there. He has no routine. And in order to have a discipline of no discipline, when you do whatever you feel like being called to do it, it actually serves you, you have to have discipline for a while. So future Goku, when he doesn't really have he has a training plan, but he does kind of like, I'm going to go train with Whis for 6 months. Like he chooses that because he has a discipline, no discipline plan. But he has that because of the hermit training, the turtle hermit training of here's a routine. And so that was a lesson that drew home to me was that there's that reminder of like how important a routine is. It doesn't matter what your routine is, but as long as you have one and it serves you. And that's the key, that it serves you. Because I've had clients that have like a 4-hour morning routine and they can't figure out why they're not motivated the rest of the day. Yeah, because your morning routine takes 4 hours. Because you're doing all the spiritual things. You're yogaing, you're tai chiing, you're going to the gym, you're studying, you're meditating, you're breath working, you're getting the kids ready for school, all these different things. And it's like, no wonder you're burnt out by 12.
What's left afterwards?
Versus have a routine that works for you. So like, I know my routine that works for me, and like I'm improving it all the time. But some people, their routine is they wake up and they have a cup of coffee and they sit down and they start creating for the day. Entrepreneur wise, some people, their routine is they wake up, they have a cup of coffee, they hit the gym, and then they're at work by 9 a.m. That's their 9 to 5 job that they like to have, whatever. But that's what I realized. The routine creates exponential growth. And if your routine is something you choose, it's growth. If it's a routine that you don't choose, it leads to stagnation and depression.
Yeah, there's an innate. This is something I learned about myself a long time ago was if I felt like I was not in control of myself or somebody else was trying to exert control over me, I would completely wig out. Like I would reset my situation. I'd stop talking to that person, or if it was somebody who was like aggressively trying to control me, I'd throw it all in their face. I'm like, no, this is what you're doing. And to their face, I tell them, this is what everything I'm seeing you're doing. And if that's what you're doing, I'm out. And I've ended relationships that way, friendships, familial relationships, because in my soul, I know that I'm an independent creature and that I must chart my own destiny. And as soon as I feel that somebody is interfering with that, somebody's pulling me left or right into their destiny, their decision for me, that's why I wake out, is because it's not aligning to mine. That person is not respecting my sovereignty, respecting my destiny, my idea of what I am going to be in this world. And that that threat to my sovereignty, before I even knew the words for that as a child, I understood that I couldn't live with that. And
Mm.
even to this day, whenever I meet anybody, as soon as I analyze the way they're talking to me, I analyze the words, how they look at me, the way they hold themselves, I analyze that, especially when they start interacting with other people in front of me, because I've learned over the course of my life that I will start to see those signs. If that is a person who imposes themselves, or if that's a person who builds other people up. And there's an innate respect there for another person's sovereignty if you're the kind of person who likes to build other people up, because you know it's about them. Their life is about them and their dreams, not yours. Even if your dream is helping other people accomplish theirs, you still have to understand it's their dream, their karma, their adventure. And the same is true the other way around. They have to understand that your dream and your adventure is yours alone. And when mostly I see this as a huge problem in the West in modern times, is that everyone feels that they're allowed and encourage each other to completely dominate and supersede each other's wills, each other's plans, each other's destinies. And like they have the right to, because, well, I know more, I'm smarter, I'm more popular, I'm more rich, whatever. I'm allowed to say that, even when you have no experience in anything that that person is going through, what they're talking about, the job, nothing. You might have no bearing on what they're going through. For some reason, we still think it's our place to tell them what to do about it,
Yes.
which is usually the worst advice. I'll admit this right now. One of my marriages ended because I lived that way. I took everything everyone else said, not only my spouse at the time, but I'd be like, I'm having a problem with my spouse. And someone said, well, why don't you try this? Not thinking, well, there's a reason that person doesn't have a spouse. It's probably because they think that way. I would go, well, let me try it. And it just, everything constantly made my relationship worse because I wasn't innovating. I wasn't pulling solutions from my own intuition. I was trying to grab it from everyone else, all these wrong sized solutions,
Yeah.
and wondering why it's getting worse, because I was outsourcing my own self, my own sovereignty, my own everything, trying to desperately fix a problem that was mine alone to fix. And when I realized after 2 relationships that was the source of my problem. It wasn't this thing or that thing or anything she was doing, or, oh, I just had a bad attitude. It was because of my approach to that problem was so screwed up, it would just create more problems. And so you look at this show teaches self-analysis. It teaches retrospective analysis. It teaches how to analyze another person, not from a judgmental state, but from a, if that was me, would I be doing that same thing stage.
Yes.
And because of all that, you end up with characters like Goku, like Bulma, where they don't, at first they might say, well, I'm not sure you're good. But eventually they go, well, but you have potential to be. You're a human being too. You're another living, thinking, breathing person too. You're just trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish your way. And when they humanize each other rather than dehumanize each other, you end up with a world where coexistence is possible, as long as we're all real and we're all respective of that each other's sovereignty and each other's destiny.
Yeah.
And that is a lesson that I believe children can learn, even as toddlers watching this show. And then that lesson applies your whole life to every other stage in your life. So I believe this is a show that you can approach as an adult like we do, and you can watch it and you can still learn from it. You can still apply it. I'm watching it. My son walks in, sits down next to me, and something happens and I laugh and go, wow, that was brilliant writing. I didn't expect that from this show, from a kid's show.
Yeah.
I look over at my son and he's over there going, that's cool. And he's having the same wheels turning, the same realization I'm having. He learned something too.
Yeah.
30 years apart, we're both still learning something from this kid's show.
Yeah. And I love that we call it a kid's show, because I mean it is a kid's show. Like I say that in the sense of like Dragon Ball is written more like the kid's show, and we're learning from it. And it's amazing, but also like anime is such an interesting category, and I know that like our generation is one of the few generations that's watching like anime as like adults, but also at the same time like anime hasn't really existed. I guess I'm saying like for our parents, like anime didn't exist.
It's pretty new.
It's pretty, yeah. Like so, like as we're growing with it, it's there. It's the same concept. Like I think it's gonna be interesting is that like there is going to come a time in history when we're going to have grandparents that have tattoos and watch anime and play Call of Duty. Like there's going to be grandparents playing Call of Duty 30 with their like tattoos, and then it's like I have tattoos, but I'm just imagining like this guy out there, like not me, but like somebody else's grandparent that's like playing Call of Duty 30 with their grandson, who's also playing it, and they're just as good because one's got that young, I'm good at video games skill, and the other one's like, I've been playing this for 30 years.
His gamer tag is Goku SSJ6.
Yeah. The kids is going to be SSJ6, and the other guys is going to be Goku, just Goku, just Goku, like before there was anything to add on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the concept. Like, anime is this thing. Like, it is a kid's show, but it's like it's such a unique energy of what it is, because some animes are definitely not kid shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're definitely not made for children. And then there's some that are like, okay, there's a little bit more there. And also, it's beautiful because like you watch Toriyama grow as he writes Dragon Ball, like because he came from writing a parody anime, an anime that's like a comedy anime, a parody. Like, a lot of funny stuff happens in it. One of the main things is this girl Ariel that runs around and she pokes poop, and like that's not the whole story, but like that's kind of where he came from. And this is like a serious that. So there's comedy and it's back and forth, and like in a lot of ways it reminds me of the Deadpool movies.
Yes.
Like, so Deadpool movies, like they're very like, I mean, you can watch it and be like, oh, it's kind of a crude action movie, but if you watch it a little bit with like your spiritual eyes, like there's some cool life lessons there, and then there's comedy. So it's always like, but it's up and down. It's like serious action comedy, serious action comedy, and that's kind of Dragon Ball. Serious action comedy, serious action comedy. Like,
it's like Jackie Chan movies too. Like,
Jackie Chan movies do it too.
Same pattern in there, it's just brilliant.
And just as it gets a little too like, just when you might get a little too, that's kind of intense, there's a joke cracked, to like keep it light, and
hits himself in the head with a pole.
Exactly, and so there's these aspects that are going on, and so certain characters are kept in the side of the background to add the funny jazz like expectations of it, but that's what these shows teach you of so much, and like you said, like you and your son can both get out of it so much from just watching it and being a part of it 30 years apart, because there's something to always be pulled out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we should probably call it for this episode. It was wonderful. If you haven't watched Dragon Ball, I don't know why you're watching this, so go watch Dragon Ball if you haven't watched Dragon Ball.
Ancient tales, we're searching for the Dragon Balls. Follow our trails through mountains high and valleys deep. We'll make a wish that the world will keep. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. Training every day, pushing past our limits. In the face of danger, we'll never quit. From the first step to the final test, we strive for greatness to be the best. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. Through storms and shadows, our spirits won't break. With every challenge, there's more strength to take. The power of teamwork, the bond we create. Together we'll master our ultimate fate. Wish upon the Dragon Balls, let your dreams take flight. With the power of the Wolfang Fist, we'll win this fight. Kamehameha, feel the energy rise. With courage in our hearts, we'll reach for the skies. So let the Dragon Balls guide our way through the darkest night to the brightest day. With the fire inside and our spirits free, we'll unlock our destiny for all to see.